Chapter 701. Bang! While Luo Qingtong was heading to the main city of the Black Field, in a magnificent mansion in a city far away from the holy land of the Empire of Qin, Feng Wuan's figure appeared in a sorry state, and then fell heavily to the ground. Your Highness. Seeing this scene, the people who were left behind in the mansion immediately rushed over and hurriedly tried to help her up. But she slapped them away with her sleeve. Get lost. Don't touch me. Feng Wuan was angry and hateful. She had never suffered such a great humiliation. When she thought of those poisoned private guards pouncing on her with greedy eyes, she felt a wave of disgust. As a result, she couldn't stand the touch of her subordinates. Now, she only wanted to ruthlessly rub off the layer of skin on her body. Feng Wuan did not forget that she was still touched by those disgusting people even though she tried her best to avoid them. It was the person who hid behind the scenes and planned all this. This could not be the work of Empress Dowager Yan Shi of the Great Chu. It was that person. That person who broke the trap she lured Prince Ning to do and returned all the poison and schemes to her, that expert in refining medicine hidden in the Great Chu Palace. Who was it? She had never heard that the Great Chu imperial family had raised such an expert. If there was such a person, Prince Ning would not have been so unguarded. Who was it that ruined her plans? Feng Wuan thought for a while and gritted her teeth. Your Highness, the group of people who were fiercely pushed away knelt beside Feng Wuan, trembling with fear. Your Highness, we did not protect you well. Your Highness, are you hurt? The leading powerhouse cautioned cautiously. In fact, they were all ordered to do things by Feng Wuan. The latter only felt that victory was in his hands this time, and thinking of his identity as a divine heavenly doctor, he only brought Ting Qin with him. Who would have thought that in the end, she would fall so badly? Even she almost died in Prince Ning's mansion. If she had not sacrificed Ting Qin, she would not have been able to get out this time. After all, if the person who set the trap was sure that she was in Prince Ning's mansion, how could he not take any action? Thinking of this, Feng Wuan's face turned ugly. Ever since she had revealed her innate talent, she had never suffered such a huge loss again. Not to mention that she had previously boasted to Ning Wang that no one would be able to detoxify the aphrodisiac that she had refined. In the end, his face was slapped swollen in the blink of an eye. Investigate. Feng Wuan's voice seemed to contain invisible coldness and resentment. Find out which alchemist is hiding behind Empress Dowager Yan Shi of Great Chu this time. I want to see who dares to go against me. The other party's poison arts were top-notch and extremely stunning. Feng Wuan admitted his inferiority. If the other party was willing to submit to her and become a dog crawling at her feet, she was willing to spare the other party's life. Otherwise, that person could only wait to die. Ruining her plans was simply unforgivable. Feng Wuan's voice was extremely gloomy and cold. The people kneeling below were shocked when they heard it, and immediately responded in unison. How long had it been since the graceful and noble Her Highness had been so angry? Thinking of the news that they had inquired about in Great Chu's sacred capital, everyone's hearts suddenly quivered. They did not dare to think deeply about what Her Highness had encountered in this process. Prince Ning, aphrodisiac. Ting Qin who did not return, in addition to Her Highness's intense reaction to their touch just now, everyone felt that they seemed to have spied on an extremely terrifying truth. Chapter 702. Swoosh. When the leader received the message, he was instantly overjoyed. Your Highness. Our chance is here. What chance? Feng Wuan looked at him coldly. Her mind was still stuck on the previous failure and she was in a very bad mood. Her plan against Great Chu had failed. She did not know how long she would have to wait to unify the eastern region. Damn it, it was obvious that Great Chu's sacred dynasty was the best place to start. The late emperor had passed away and the weak one had succeeded the throne. As long as Empress Dowager Yen Shi of Great Chu who was blocking the way was taken care of, the rest would be logical. But at this juncture, someone had ruined it. And if she wanted to attack the other two dynasties, the empire of Qin was too powerful. The emperor was in his prime and there was no way to attack. Furthermore, Great Qi wasn't a neighbor of Great Yong. Even if Great Qi were to create chaos in Great Yong, it wouldn't have anything to do with Great Yong. Perhaps Great Qin would even take advantage of the situation. At that time, she would not be able to control Great Yong and seize the four dynasties. It would be good if she was not annexed by the Empire of Qin after Great Qi was annexed. At that time, the Empire of Qin would be the one to unify the world. Then, she would really become someone else's wedding dress. Therefore, Great Qi could not be touched, and the Empire of Qin could not be touched for the time being. The only one who could be touched was Great Chu. But the plan had failed and King Ning had been abolished. She had almost lost the only chance to touch Great Chu. Just as Feng Yuan was thinking and feeling depressed, the leader's voice sounded excitedly. Your Highness, Great Chu is in chaos. We really have a chance again. Swoosh. Feng Yuan suddenly looked up and stared at him. Great Chu is in chaos. Is this true? When did this happen? King Ning's plot had been exposed, which was equivalent to being abolished. Under such circumstances, who could still mess up Great Chu? Feng Yuan's heart was full of disbelief. It's King Ning. The strong man said excitedly. Your Highness, just as you returned, the spies in the holy capital of Great Chu sent news. Prince Ning has announced to the public that the late Emperor of Great Chu allowed Empress Dowager Yen Shi to marry someone else, and announced to the public that he is willing to support Empress Dowager Yen Shi of Great Chu in finding a husband to rule Great Chu together with someone else to fulfill the late Emperor's wish. Now, the entire Great Chu is in chaos. Ning Wang is really going all out this time. Who knows how many ambitious schemers have responded to his words. You know, marrying Empress Dowager Yen Shi is equivalent to getting the entire Great Chu's sacred dynasty. After all, she is the regent Empress Dowager who is in charge of the Great Chu. As long as you marry her, you will be able to interfere in the political affairs of Great Chu. At that time, even if Empress Dowager Yen Shi and the other officials stop us, they won't be able to stop us. Your Highness, don't you just lack an opportunity to do so openly? Now, King Ning has delivered it to us. Your Highness, you don't have to worry that the failure of the previous plan will affect our plan to seize Great Chu. The leader of the group said with a smile on his face. A smile slowly bloomed on Feng Yuan's face. The cold and gloomy appearance from before was suddenly swept away. That's right. Her expression was calm and graceful as she leaned on the imperial consort's chair behind her. Chapter 703. This is indeed a great opportunity for us. And it's even better than ours. Helping Prince Ning deal with Empress Dowager Yen Shi, then controlling Prince Ning and slowly plotting to take over Great Chu, how could it be better than becoming the husband of Great Chu's Empress Dowager and directly taking over Great Chu? I didn't expect that this failure would actually help us a lot. Prince Ning's desperate move was well done. Very well. Feng Yuan's eyes were calm, and she smiled proudly. Send an order back to the country immediately. Let Father order 7th Imperial Uncle to take over this matter and come to Great Chu's sacred capital. She wanted to see how Empress Dowager Yen Shi and the person behind her would stop her overt plot this time. She was determined to take over Great Chu. No one could stop her. From Great Chu, the 4 dynasties of the eastern region would be in her bag. She would prove that she, Feng Yuan, was the only person in the world who was worthy of that man. Swoosh. Just as Feng Yuan was feeling proud in her heart, outside the main city of the Black Field of the Great Chu's sacred dynasty, Luo Qingtong's spirit boat approached the surging road to the underworld. Consistent with the rumors, the road to the underworld outside the main city of the Blackfield was overflowing with a terrible aura that was enough to kill experts below the martial emperor level. Luo Qingtong looked at the surging road to the underworld and raised her eyebrows, thinking about whether to use the ring that Yi Qianxian gave her. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared outside her spirit boat. The next second, a token was thrown out by the other party, which swept into the main city of the Blackfield ahead. Open the 9 gates. That person's voice coldly passed into the main city of the Blackfield. The guardian of the Blackfield's main city. Receiving the token that rushed over, in an instant, the entire main city of the Great Chu's sacred dynasty's Blackfield was in an uproar. It's the guardian of the main city. Open the 9 gates. Could it be that the Lord has come? Voices rang out from the city lord's mansion. In an instant, many figures suddenly rose from the city lord's mansion of the main city. Open the 9 gates. Quick! Welcome the High Lord. Everyone, welcome him. Activate the 4 directions beacon command. Swish! Swish! As everyone's voices rang out, in the next second, streaks of incomparably dazzling light suddenly soared from all directions of the Blackfield main city. It caused the entire city, which was as large as the sacred capital of Great Chu, to instantly shake. Oh my God, what happened? Everyone in the main city of Blackfield stared at the scene with their mouths agape. Suddenly, someone reacted and shouted, Blackfield Ming Zun. Open all 9 gates. Everyone in the Blackfield is coming out. It's Ming Zun from the Blackfield. That Supreme from the Blackfield is here. Rumble. As if responding to that person's words, the entire Blackfield began to shake violently. One after another, the tightly shut doors suddenly opened. Such extravagance, such grandeur. In an instant, even those who were still uncertain stood up fiercely at this moment. Ming Zun from the Blackfield. It really was the Supreme of the Dark Region who had come. In an instant, waves of cheers rang out in the main city of Blackfield like a tsunami. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched as she looked at the main city of Blackfield that was boiling like water dripping into a pot of oil. She instantly felt a headache coming on. This was a huge blunder. There's no need to make such a big show. Her lips twitched as she looked at the Supreme from the Blackfield floating outside the spirit ship. Chapter 704. The High Lord has ordered that you will be treated the same as him. It doesn't matter if we aren't here, but if we are, you will not be slighted. When the Blackfield powerhouse heard her voice, he tilted his head slightly and looked in her direction. He bowed respectfully and said, Evil Doctor, don't worry. It's okay to let those people misunderstand. There is a shielding array above the Blackfield's main city. Evil Doctor, you can enter the city without any scruples. In the eyes of the Blackfield powerhouse, it didn't matter if others misunderstood or not. What mattered was that Luo Qingtong could not be slighted in the slightest. Let the future mistress of the Blackfield walk into the city. Since he was here, he naturally couldn't let Luo Qingtong be slighted like this. Luo Qingtong looked at him, speechless for a while. Fine. Since it was that man's order, then she would enter the city. Fortunately, her reputation as evil Dr. Ghost Eye wasn't weak. She was worthy of being welcomed by everyone when she opened the 9 gates. Thus, under everyone's gaze, Luo Qingtong's spirit ship drove directly into the Blackfield's main city. The people in the Blackfield's main city lord's mansion only realized that it wasn't their high lord after Luo Qingtong brought grandfather Luo down from the ship. It was their future mistress, evil Dr. Ghost Eye, who was extremely popular in the Blackfield and even in the true Spill continent. Evil Doctor. In the Blackfield's main city lord's mansion, a group of people respectfully bowed to Luo Qingtong and grandfather Luo who had just disembarked from the ship. Luo Qingtong nodded and followed them into the room prepared for her. Then, she waved them away. After everyone left, old Master Luo, who had been dumbfounded and had even forgotten his soul, suddenly jumped up. He rushed to the door and closed it. Then, he pulled Luo Qingtong and asked in a low voice, "Qingtong, what's going on? Why is your status in the Black Field so high?" Old Master Luo was really frightened. He knew that his precious granddaughter was very capable and talented. She was also the respected evil Dr. Ghost Eyes of the Black Field. However, when all 9 gates were opened and everyone welcomed him, the entire Black Field main city was shaken. This was a treatment that only underworld venerables could enjoy. Thinking of the man who had single-handedly created the Black Field and was regarded as a god, Grandpa Luo's heart was filled with anxiety. "Qingtong, that Black Field Mingzun, don't tell me he's thinking about you." When he thought about the inheritance that his granddaughter had obtained from the 9 Magi Mountain and the powerful abilities that she had displayed, he was instantly filled with worry. His granddaughter's abilities were really too tempting. What if underworld venerables from the Black Field came for her abilities and wanted to control her? His precious granddaughter usually looked quite smart. Why was she so stupid now? She brought him to the Black Field just like that. Wasn't this giving others a chance to discover her identity? What if that underworld venerables from the Black Field were just pretending to care about his granddaughter so that she would let down her guard? What should he do? Thinking of this, Grandpa Luo instantly became anxious. Pfft. Hearing Grandpa Luo's words, Luo Qingtong almost spat out her saliva. Little Pig, who was in her sleeve, was also jumping around happily. "Grandpa Luo, you guessed it right this time. That man is thinking about your granddaughter. It's just another idea." Chapter 705. Cough cough. Luo Qingtong coughed violently for a while, and then said to Grandfather Luo, "Grandpa, don't worry, it's okay, cough cough, the Black Field's Mingzun is a good person." When Luo Qingtong said this, she couldn't help but feel guilty. There was no other way. Yi Qianqian's character was really not a good person at all. Even when they had first met, that man had been merciless to her. Little Pig was also in her sleeve, rolling its eyes at her. Grandfather Luo obviously didn't believe it. At this time, he didn't care about the things that hurt him and Yan Shi. He immediately grabbed Luo Qingtong and asked, "Really? You can't lie to Grandpa this time." This precious granddaughter of his had always shouldered everything by herself. Grandfather Luo didn't want her to deliberately say this because she was afraid that he would be worried. "Cough cough, it's true, it's true. Grandpa, you're tired, go rest." As Luo Qingtong spoke, she hurriedly pushed old Master Luo into his room. After sending Grandfather Luo away, Luo Qingtong concentrated on what she was going to do next. She brought Grandfather Luo to the Black Field's main city, first, to find the medicinal herb that could perfectly refine the rejuvenation pill. Second, to strengthen Grandfather Luo's strength. She said that she would give Empress Dowager Yan Shi a surprise, so she would definitely do it. What's more, letting Grandpa become her husband openly must be something that Grandpa and Grandma were looking forward to. Luo Qingtong didn't mind letting the two of them be romantic, fulfilling Grandpa's dream of being a hero saving the beauty. Presumably, when Empress Dowager Yan Shi saw Grandpa come down from the sky and marry her, all the resentment and unwillingness from before would all disappear, right? Luo Qingtong could see that Empress Dowager Yan Shi actually still had resentment in her heart. Even if she already knew that what happened back then was a complete misunderstanding, but if it weren't for Grandpa's negligence, so many things wouldn't have happened at all. What's more, the matter of her cheap father and mother, if Empress Dowager Yan Shi knew about this, it would be terrible. Therefore, when Luo Qingtong asked them to leave, she simply left with Luo Qingtong. It was to delay the exposure of this matter. Otherwise, the relationship between the two of them that had just eased up would inevitably fall to the freezing point again. A mother's desire to protect her child was very strong. Empress Dowager Yen, she wouldn't care about old man Luo's difficulties. She would definitely think that he didn't take good care of his son. In short, this was a bad debt. Only when all the knots in their hearts had been untied would they have the chance to be relieved. Luo Qingtong thought so and instantly felt that she was worried about her grandfather. He was China's best granddaughter. As she thought about it, she summoned the people from the city lord's office of the Blackfield main city and asked them to announce that she was looking for a certain medicinal ingredient. They also stated that the other party could raise any conditions as long as the Blackfield could fulfill them. In addition, Luo Qingtong asked the people in the main city of the Blackfield to help her find everything that had the aura of the Saint Realm. To put it simply, it was a saint artifact. It would be best if it was a broken saint artifact. Luo Qingtong had an experiment to do. If she could succeed, it would be very beneficial to her own strength. Woman, don't tell me you want to do that. Little Pig's eyes widened as he listened to her instructions. He vaguely realized what Luo Qingtong wanted to do. Oh my God. This woman wouldn't really be that crazy, right? Chapter 706. While Luo Qingtong was instructing the people of the Blackfield to find something for her, Feng Wuan also received news from her subordinates. Underworld Venerable is in Great Chu's Blackfield main city. In a city near Great Chu's holy capital, Feng Wuan, who was waiting for people from Great Yong, looked at the news in her hands and couldn't help but feel her heart sway. Underworld Venerable of the Blackfield, thinking of that valiant and handsome man, Feng Wuan's heart couldn't help but beat rapidly. She really liked him. But Underworld Venerable of the Blackfield didn't care about anyone who approached him. As the first princess of Great Yong, she had used the name of Great Yong's holy dynasty to seek an audience with him several times, but she had never succeeded. Underworld Venerable of the Blackfield was unpredictable and unpredictable. No one knew where he would suddenly appear. Generally, by the time they knew, he would have already left. Feng Wuan had tried to track him down before, but every time she heard the news, he had already left. This time, he seemed to be staying in the Blackfield main city for a while. Feng Wuan looked at the news in her hands. It was the news from the Blackfield's main city lord's mansion. Suddenly, her heart stirred. This should be something that Underworld Venerable needed. Otherwise, why would the city lord's mansion not buy it earlier or later, but when Underworld Venerable of the Blackfield arrived? Feng Wuan looked at the medicinal herbs written on it. Heavenly Water Jade Heart Lotus, she just happened to have one in her hands. It was very likely that it was the only one in true Spill Continent. This was because this Heavenly Water Jade Heart Lotus was so precious that it wasn't a treasure that could appear in true Spill Continent. Its spiritual energy was so abundant that it was even above those treasures that appeared in the world. Feng Wuan had also obtained it because of that lucky chance. And because of that lucky chance, she knew some of the secrets hidden in true Spill Continent. At the same time, she began to believe that she was the destined daughter of this world. Underworld Venerable needs this thing. Feng Wuan tapped her 10 fingers, her willowy eyebrows furrowed. It was said that this celestial aqua jade heart lotus had the miraculous effect of retaining one's youthfulness forever. Feng Wuan kept it in his hands because he was preparing to use it. But now, the Blackfield Underworld Supremacy was looking for this thing. This was a rare opportunity for her to meet him. With that thought in mind, Feng Wuan gritted his teeth. He directly took out the Heavenly Water Jade Heart Lotus from his Sumera spiritual artifact and wrapped it in an exquisite jade box. Then, he walked out of the room. To Great Chu Blackfield's main city. She didn't believe that she wouldn't be recognized by Ming Zun in the Blackfield with her ability and strength. If evil Dr. Gui Tong could use his identity as a doctor to attract him, he could do the same. Wearing the disguise of a heavenly medical sage, Feng Wuan's eyes hidden behind the white jade mask were cold. She would prove to the Blackfield Ming Zun that evil Dr. Ghost I was not his only choice. He was not inferior to the other party. There was even a chance that he would win. Ming Zun valued and cherished evil Dr. Ghost Eye. She would snatch it all away. Yes. All of his subordinates responded and followed beside Feng Wuan. Of course, only a few of them openly followed behind Feng Wuan. As for the others, they were all hidden in the shadows, protecting Feng Wuan's safety. After nearly being plotted against, Feng Wuan had become much more cautious. He no longer dared to be as arrogant as before. Schwa. Chapter 707. Blackfield's main city. After Luo Qingtong left the matter to the city lord's mansion's people, she flashed into the 9-story exquisite pagoda. In the space of the 9-story exquisite pagoda's first floor, Snowball's body was curled up into a ball. It was wrapped in a dense white light as it floated in the sky above the first floor of the 9-story exquisite pagoda. This fellow is still transforming. Little Pig looked at the white jade ball floating in the sky and muttered with an envious expression. I don't know what it ate in the far west wilderness. After absorbing so much powerful soul power, it still doesn't show any signs of awakening. Little Pig said with an indescribable envy and jealousy in his heart. This little white ball was really too lucky. Generally speaking, the stronger the strength and the nobler the bloodline of a divine beast, the longer it would take for it to transform. However, Snowball had absorbed the 100 Ghosts banner that Luo Qingtong obtained from Shi Qingqing. The soul power contained in it was extremely powerful and enormous. After all, even if it was a damaged holy tool, the 100 Ghosts banner was just like its name. It contained an unknown amount of dead souls' power. Although it didn't contain the souls of experts above the Sage Realm, it had plenty of souls below the Sage Realm. Snowball had absorbed so much soul power, but it still didn't show any signs of awakening. Obviously, the amount of energy it needed to transform this time was too enormous. The soul power contained in the 100 Ghosts banner couldn't satisfy it. It seemed that Luo Qingtong had to continue working hard to find more things that contained soul power if she wanted it to awaken as soon as possible. Whoosh! Luo Qingtong raised her hand and summoned the 100 Ghosts banner. The soul power contained in this damaged holy tool had been completely absorbed by Snowball. It had lost all of its power. Unless it could collect more souls and nourish it again, this holy tool was equivalent to being crippled. Luo Qingtong naturally wouldn't let it be crippled. She would even repair the damage of this holy tool. It would be of great use to her in the future. However, that was a matter for the future. As for now, Luo Qingtong looked at the 100 Ghosts banner that was hanging dejectedly in front of her. A bloody light flickered in her eyes. In the next second, Luo Qingtong saw all of the 100 Ghosts banner's structure and material composition, as well as the lingering aura within it. The girl's pupils were as red as blood. They were like extremely bright and dazzling red jade embedded in her white eyes. They were filled with a bewitching and beautiful beauty. Whoosh! Being stared at by Luo Qingtong's extremely bewitching blood-red eyes, he felt like his entire body was being seen through. The 100 Ghost streamer trembled and subconsciously wanted to run away, but it was firmly bound in place by the aura of the 9-story exquisite pagoda. The 9-layered jewel pagoda was a supreme treasure comparable to the life and death duality sword. The 100 Ghosts banner was immediately suppressed by the 9-layered exquisite pagoda's aura. It was bound in the air and was completely seen through by Luo Qingtong from top to bottom. The holy tool's spirit banner wanted to cry but had no tears. It was one thing for the girl in front of it to possess a terrifying holy tool. But now, there was a second one. Moreover, this holy tool's main function was to suppress. How could such a terrifying girl appear in such a low-level continent? She should be a peerless genius from an extremely powerful force in the outside world. Chapter 708. She looked at the powerful aura floating within and suddenly raised her hand to draw out that strand of aura. The weapon spirit of the 100 Ghosts banner turned pale with fright. That was what it relied on to survive. If the body of the banner was damaged, it could still be repaired. But if that strand of aura that contained the power of the Saint Realm disappeared, it would really become a useless piece of trash like a fire stick. The 100 Ghosts banner struggled desperately to escape from Luo Qingtong's fingers. But with the 9-story exquisite pagoda around, its struggle to escape was futile. Just as the weapon spirit of the 100 Ghosts banner was in despair, Luo Qingtong returned the strand of aura of the Saint Realm that had been drawn away. So it's like this. The girl's eyes flashed with a bloody light, and she smiled happily. Ah. What's like this? What did she do? The weapon spirit of the 100 Ghosts banner was confused, but it had no chance to clear its confusion. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and put it back into her storage ring. Then, the bloody light in her eyes flashed violently. She felt the spiritual energy in the air around her and began to slowly close her eyes. A perfectly constructed spiritual energy pattern appeared in her mind. She even knew how to use the aura of the Saint Realm in it. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and pointed forward. Her finger slowly drew a line in the air. Countless amounts of spirit qi gathered and filled it. Luo Qingtong's finger was very steady as it continued to draw. More and more spiritual energy poured into it. Whoosh! When the last line was formed, the bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes became more and more intense. She pointed her finger at the inscription pattern that had taken shape. In an instant, the inscription pattern shone brightly. Boom! The huge amount of spiritual energy that had gathered was suddenly converted into a strand of power of the Saint Realm. Borrowing the spiritual diagram. Bang! As Luo Qingtong waved her hand, the power of the Saint Realm contained in the inscription pattern instantly blasted outward. Rumble! In the sky above the 9-story exquisite pagoda, waves of spiritual qi suddenly exploded. The entire 9-story exquisite pagoda shook slightly. Holy shit! The moment Luo Qingtong made her move, Little Pig already knew what she was going to do. Borrowing the spiritual qi of heaven and earth to generate the power of the saint stage. This was the technique of a sage expert. It was an attack that could only be performed by a Saint Realm expert. It was an attack that borrowed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. But now, Luo Qingtong had done it with a single inscription pattern. This inscription pattern was one of the middle-level inscription techniques recorded in the Immortal Slayer Palace. Little Pig knew about this inscription pattern. This was one of the human inscriptions. But this was an intermediate-level inscription technique. How long has it been since Luo Qingtong started learning inscription techniques? At most, it wouldn't be more than half a year. The inscription master disciples in the Immortal Slayer Palace had to study for several years before they could become a beginner. Those with better talents would need at least a year. Not to mention learning intermediate-level inscription techniques. One had to know that after entering the door, one would be a true inscription master. When one walked out, one would enjoy the admiration of countless people. If alchemists, spiritual array masters, and blacksmiths were professions that were above tens of thousands of people, even martial artists and soul cultivators would revere them. Then, inscription masters were a profession that was above them. Chapter 709. This was because an inscription master's inscription pattern could be used in almost any situation. If an alchemist could obtain an inscription pattern from an inscription master, the effect of the elixir he refined would be several times better than usual. This was the same for blacksmiths, spiritual array masters, and so on. An inscription master was the only profession that all other professions had to curry favor with. But at the same time, only 1 in 10,000 could become an inscription master. In the past, the Immortal Slayer Palace was extremely powerful and had disciples all over the world. It was known as the #1 Immortal Sect and the #1 Inscription Master Sect. However, there might not even be one inscription master among tens of thousands of people. Not to mention the advanced inscription masters and even more advanced inscription saint masters. Luo Qingtong's talent was too powerful. If the Immortal Slayer Palace was not destroyed, she would definitely be a peerless genius. She would be highly sought after among countless immortal sects and schools. Oh my God! You woman, you actually did such a thing. And you even succeeded. Little Pig already knew what Luo Qingtong was going to do when she asked people to collect the broken saint tools. He didn't expect this woman to actually succeed. This was heaven-defying, heaven-defying. If Tian Mingzi knew this in the underworld, he would be so happy that he would jump out from the underworld. Where could one find a peerless genius like Luo Qingtong? It was hard to find a peerless genius even when the Immortal Slayer Palace's inheritance was complete. Not to mention, after the Immortal Slayer Palace's inheritance was cut off, Luo Qingtong was only a beginner, but she actually succeeded. She became a true inscription master and started to cultivate the intermediate level inscription technique. Oh my God! Even the most talented person in the Immortal Slayer Palace couldn't be compared to Luo Qingtong, right? Maybe I can take revenge for that old man Tian Mingzi. Little Pig thought to himself. Meanwhile, Luo Qingtong had already raised her hand and dispersed the spirit borrowing diagram she had drawn. Very good. Her assumption was right. With this soul borrow diagram, Grandfather Luo's strength would increase tremendously. He could use the spiritual energy of heaven and earth even though he wasn't a sage realm expert. Although the amount of spiritual energy he could use was limited, it was still a sage realm technique. Just a sliver of power was enough to make old man Luo look down on most of the powerhouses in the world. In fact, Luo Qingtong could forcibly raise old man Luo's strength to the level of a martial spirit, which was close to the level of a saint. However, that kind of strength was unstable. To Elder Luo, it was no different from spoiling a seedling by spoiling it. It was a waste of Elder Luo's talent and potential. It wasn't easy for Luo Qingtong to adjust old Master Luo's body after his cultivation was crippled, allowing him to have better talent and potential than before. He could continue to advance. How could she cut off his future cultivation path just like that? If he forcefully raised his cultivation, old Master Luo's strength would be limited in the future. Luo Qingtong naturally wouldn't do that. In that case, he could only seek other ways to increase the old man's strength. It just so happened that when Luo Qingtong entered the 9-layered exquisite pagoda to give Song Qing a copy of the inscription scroll, she saw this spirit borrow diagram. Originally, he wanted to save it for future research and experiments. Now, it just so happened that it came in handy. This spirit borrowing diagram wasn't difficult for Luo Qingtong to draw. After all, she had seen Sage Realm experts in action several times. Chapter 710. However, this didn't mean that she had completely succeeded. She still needed to find a suitable sage aura for Elder Luo and infuse it into the spirit borrow diagram. Then, she would draw it on Elder Luo's body. That was why Luo Qingtong had asked the people of the Black Field to search for the broken sage artifacts. She wanted to find a sage aura that was compatible with Elder Luo's and then adjust the spirit borrow diagram. Then, Elder Luo would be able to borrow the power of the sage through the array on his body. This spirit borrow diagram was to use the human body as a weapon and draw inscription patterns on it. Then, through the inscription patterns, one could use the power of heaven and earth to generate the power of the sage. The art of inscription patterns was so profound. It was so powerful. No wonder Tian Mingzi was so arrogant back then. Luo Qingtong practiced the spirit borrow diagram repeatedly in the 9-story exquisite pagoda. She wanted to draw it on Elder Luo's body in one go so that he could use the power of the sage to the greatest extent. It would become his biggest trump card. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Just as Luo Qingtong was focused on drawing the spirit burrow diagram, Feng Yuan had already brought a group of people to the main city of the Black Field. Looking at the huge black city in front of her that looked like a giant beast, Feng Yuan's eyes flashed and became more and more excited. Ming Zun of the Black Field was inside. To be able to cover the sky with one hand and establish an independent city that was completely under his control and that the four sacred dynasties couldn't do anything about. The difficulty and power of this was shocking. Feng Yuan didn't know how strong Ming Zun was, but he was definitely the strongest man she had ever seen. It was said that that wasn't his true strength. For some reason, Ming Zun couldn't use his full strength. But even so, that man's strength was already unparalleled. Then, how strong was his true strength? Feng Yuan called herself the Chosen One, so the man she was looking for naturally had to be the strongest. Moreover, Ming Zun of the Black Field was indescribably handsome, like a celestial being. This kind of man was naturally the most suitable for her. It didn't matter if he didn't have the same physique as Yuan Mo. To the Black Field City Lord Mansion. Feng Yuan's figure swept past the path of the underworld outside the Black Domain main city. With a swoosh, he rushed into the Black Domain main city's wide-open city gate. Behind her, a group of subordinates competed to follow her. At the same time, in the Black Field City Lord Mansion, Luo Qingtong had used up all her mental energy in the 9-story exquisite pagoda before coming out. Then, he washed his hair and changed his clothes. Sitting there, he rubbed the 9 Netherworld Phoenix ring on his left ring finger. Yi Qianren, that man, she didn't know what he's doing now. Luo 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 T Luo Tes Luo T. Although the other party wasn't by her side, her surroundings were constantly filled with traces of the other party. The protection of the Black Field, the treatment in the main city, that man had given her everything he had. This was the feeling of being protected by someone. Luo Qingtong had been hunted down for so many years in her previous life, but she had never experienced the feeling of being protected by someone like this. That feeling was very subtle. It was as if her entire heart had softened. At this moment, a voice came from outside. Chapter 7:11. The Blackfield powerhouse who came to report had a strange expression on his face. Not for anything else, but the person who came to seek an audience with the Honorable Lord. He said that he had the medicinal herbs that the Honorable Lord needed. These days, the Blackfield main city tried its best to purchase the medicinal herb that Luo Qingtong wanted. They even mobilized their connections in the Blackfield, but they couldn't find any information about that medicinal herb. They did find many medicinal herbs with similar medicinal properties, but Luo Qingtong said that they couldn't be used after looking at them. They were missing the most important medicinal property. Now that someone came to their door with medicinal herbs and specifically asked to see the Honorable Lord, the people in the Blackfield main city were in a difficult position. Because this matter was a complete blunder. The Honorable Lord wasn't even here, okay? It was Lord Evil Doctor who was here. But they were afraid that if they told the truth, the other party would leave. Therefore, they could only report this matter to Luo Qingtong and see how she would resolve it. Someone wants to see you. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. Is it because of the medicinal herb? Luo Qingtong thought of this in an instant. After all, after she came to the Blackfield main city, she told the other party not to disturb her unless it was about the thing she was looking for. She wanted to focus on practicing the spirit borrowing diagram. Yes. The Blackfield powerhouse nodded, then said, but the other party specifically asked to see the Honorable Lord. Lord Evil Doctor, you see, this. Oh. Luo Qingtong got up from the bed and put on a colorful robe. The girl's face was stunningly beautiful. Her long hair, which had just finished bathing, was draped over her shoulders, making her face look even more petite. But the domineering aura in her eyes was very sharp and obvious. Who is the other party? Why did they specifically ask to see Yi Qianxian? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. If the other party was really looking for Yi Qianxian for business, she couldn't go and see them. It was even more impossible for him to use Yi Qianxian's name to agree to anything. After all, that man was so protective of her. She couldn't possibly cheat him on such a matter. Although Yi Qianxian meant that she could do whatever she wanted and not have to worry about so much, she didn't have to. But Luo Qingtong still had a bottom line. She would never let down those who treated her well. It's a person called Heavenly Doctor's Sacred Hand. As the black field expert spoke, he carefully looked at Luo Qingtong's expression. He didn't know if she knew this person called the Heavenly Doctor Sage Hand. The other party's reputation had risen recently. Furthermore, with the black field's ability to gather information, the expert from the black field who came to report naturally knew about the rumors circulating outside, saying that evil Dr. Ghost Eye's ability was not as strong as Heavenly Doctor Sage Hand's. There were even some Holy Dynasty influences that wanted to see Luo Qingtong. After obtaining the help of the Heavenly Doctor Sage Hand, they directly spread rumors that Luo Qingtong was hiding her head and showing her tail, fishing for fame and compliments. The pills that she took out for auction, they didn't know if she refined them herself. After all, Luo Qingtong had shown her age several times. She obviously didn't look like someone who could refine pills. The alchemists of the true Spill continent had all reached the pinnacle of alchemy before they comprehended and sublimated. In contrast, Luo Qingtong's age was really too young. In addition, she basically didn't show her face, nor did she accept the goodwill of any influence. Those influences were looking for her everywhere, but they couldn't find her. In their anger, they naturally spread these rumors. Oh. Hearing this, Luo Qingtong's eyebrows shot up. Chapter 7:12. Heavenly Medical Divine Hand. Luo Qingtong chuckled. What a coincidence. She failed to keep the other party in Prince Ning's mansion, but now the other party came to find her. And, the other party even asked to see Yi Qianxian. She thought of the other party spreading the rumor that the evil Dr. Ghost Eye was not as good as the Heavenly Medical Divine Hand, and the other party's nickname of using heaven to suppress evil and holy to suppress ghosts. The smile on Luo Qingtong's lips was indescribably evil. Okay. Ask her to wait in the main hall. Remember, don't tell her my identity. She would let the other party think that she was Yi Qianxian. Let's see what kind of tricks the other party could play. Luo Qingtong was looking forward to it. The other party specially came to ask for medicinal herbs because she was going to say something to Yi Qianxian. Thinking that there would be a good show to watch later, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up even higher. She tied up the colorful robe on her body. After dressing up a little, a peerlessly beautiful, androgynous young man appeared in the room. The colorful robe was extremely beautiful, making Luo Qingtong's skin look like cold jade. The evil and enchanting aura was peerless. Luo Qingtong smiled and put the Rakshasa ghost mask on her face. Then, she walked out of the room with Little Pig in her arms. Let's go. Let's go meet that Heavenly Medical Divine Hand. In the main hall of the City Lord's mansion, Feng Wan's eyes flashed with surprise and determination when she heard that Ming Zun was willing to see her. As long as she could meet Ming Zun, she could let him know how outstanding she was. That evil Dr. Ghost Eye might not be able to compare with her. Feng Wan had great confidence in her ability to refine medicine. For so long, she had only suffered losses at the hands of two people. The first time was when the martial emperor's subordinate she sent to Dongli State was killed. The other time was now in Prince Ning's mansion. However, the person who attacked her was so skilled in poison. She didn't know where this hidden expert came from. It was normal for him to lose to such a person. But that evil Dr. Ghost Eye, he might not lose to her. The simplest proof was that the poison in Luo Qingtong's eyes had not been completely neutralized. Luo Qingtong's clear eyes turned bloodshot as she recalled the news she had received from her subordinates. Although it looked perfectly fine, Feng Wuan knew that the pair of eyes had been crippled. With the impurities, the other party's eyes were no longer pure. That was why she mercifully let him off and didn't send anyone else to kill him. Because it was no longer worth it. Therefore, this evil Dr. Ghost Eye was definitely not his match. Her medical skills and alchemy skills were no match for his. Thinking of this, Feng Wuan's expression became even more joyful. At this moment, a sound suddenly came from behind the screen in the middle of the hall. It seemed that someone had walked in from behind. Hearing the sound, Feng Wuan's expression suddenly became serious. She raised her eyes and looked at the screen. A figure was faintly reflected on the screen made of good quality. Are you the one who brought the medicinal herbs to see me? What do you want? The figure stood still behind the screen, and a voice came out from it. Was it Ming Zun of the Black Field? Feng Wuan looked at the figure standing behind the screen and was pleasantly surprised. She stood up and bowed to the person behind the screen. Then, she said resolutely, I'm the Heavenly Holy Hand. I brought the medicinal herbs here for no other reason than to be by your side. Chapter 7:13. Feng Wuan didn't hide her ambition to replace Luo Qingtong in her words at all. She knew that those in power like to see their subordinates give up everything for them. Compete with each other. She believed that Ming Zun would agree to her request. Oh. Luo Qingtong, who was behind the screen, was about to laugh when she heard it. She looked through the screen at the white-robed figure standing in front of her. Under the Rakshasa mask, there was a devilish smile full of interest. She was wondering what this heavenly divine doctor wanted to do by asking to see Yi Qianxian. It turned out that she wanted to replace her. Those words were full of ambition. Although there was a hint of reservation and arrogance in them, she could still hear them clearly. Luo Qingtong's interest was piqued, and she decided to play with her a little more. Is that so? You should know that there's already evil Dr. Ghost Eye in the Black Field. The voice behind the screen sounded, and it was hard to tell whether it was happy or angry. Feng Wuan's eyes lit up when she heard it. Not for anything else, but since the other party had answered, it meant that he was already considering it. Otherwise, he wouldn't even answer. Thinking of this, she became even more excited. Her eyes burned as she looked at the figure behind the screen, and she said word by word, as the saying goes, a fine bird chooses a tree to nest in, a fine lord chooses a general to follow. With the lord's status, he naturally needs to choose the best doctor to accompany him. Although evil Dr. Ghost Eye's reputation is great, she may not be able to compare to me. Could it be that the Lord wants to discard a fine tree and not use it, and choose a rotten piece of wood that's worse than rotten? When Feng Wuan said this, Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes behind the screen. Fine tree, rotten piece of wood, who was she insinuating? She, evil Dr. Ghost Eye, was a rotten piece of wood that was inferior to her, but this heavenly divine doctor had become a rare divine tree of heaven and earth. In her mind, Little Pig was also making a fuss with a snort. Holy sh*t, this heavenly doctor is too shameless. She wants to step on you to get to the top. Also, listen to what she's saying. If the person standing here is really Yi Qianxian, does that mean that I'm not a wise ruler if I don't choose her? Does that mean that I don't have foresight? Why would I choose a rotten piece of wood over a piece of rotten wood like you? Don't be so shameless. This person's skin was even thicker than the city walls. No, I can't take it anymore. As Little Pig spoke, he jumped out of Luo Qingtong's arms and pushed down the folding screen. She would let the other party see who she was talking about. Bah, shameless to the extreme. Boom. The screen collapsed in front of him. Feng Wuan thought that Ming Zun was moved by his words and became angry. She had already guessed that this would be the result when she said those words to provoke him. She had even thought of what she would say to resolve the situation. That man would definitely have a whole new level of respect for her and understand the unparalleled wisdom hidden under her identity. However, just as she was about to resolve Yi Qianqian's anger with a face full of confidence and make him admire her, Feng Wuan raised his head and saw Luo Qingtong's Rakshasa ghost face that she had never imagined. "Why is it you?" Looking at the handsome youth standing in front of him, whose demonic and enchanting aura couldn't be concealed even with the ferocious ghost face, Feng Wuan's expression completely froze. "Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Why is it her?" Chapter 714. Where's Ming Zun? "Evil Dr. Gui Tong, you don't have the right to meet me on his behalf." Feng Wuan stood up from her seat and looked at Luo Qingtong with resentment. Being treated as a joke for no reason for a long time, Feng Wuan's face hidden behind the white jade mask was indescribably embarrassed. She had never been played like this before. This evil Dr. Gui Tong was really too hateful. Feng Wuan looked coldly at Luo Qingtong. Before the latter could say anything, the black field expert who accompanied her had already frowned coldly and looked at Feng Wuan, whose face was full of resentment. He suddenly reprimanded, "Impudent! How can you casually question Lord Evil Doctor's qualifications? My lord is not here. All matters in the Black Field will be decided by Lord Evil Doctor. Who do you think you are to dare to reprimand Lord?" That Black Field expert's expression was unfriendly. Luo Qingtong was their future mistress. How could she allow others to casually reprimand her? Furthermore, this heavenly doctor obviously came with ill intentions and was trying to sow discord outside the screen. She should be glad that it was Lord Evil Dr. Gui Tong who was here. If the Lord was here and heard her words, she would have lost her life long ago. How could the future mistress of the Black Field allow others to be impudent in front of her? Furthermore, this heavenly doctor was delusional enough to want the Lord to abandon the mistress. That Black Field expert's reprimand carried a cold attack. Being yelled at by him, Feng Yuan instantly felt as if he had been hit in the head. His entire body was on the verge of collapsing as he took a few steps back. "Mistress!" The two subordinates on her left and right saw the situation and hurriedly supported her to prevent Feng Yuan from falling to the ground. "You people from the Black Field are too much. How can you casually injure people?" One of her subordinates reprimanded harshly. "Humph. Insulting Lord Evil Doctor is equivalent to insulting the Lord. I'm already being merciful. If you don't want to suffer physical pain, then tell your master to keep his mouth shut. Don't say anything that will anger us from the Black Field." The Black Field powerhouse said coldly. If it weren't for the fact that the other party still had the medicinal herbs that Luo Qingtong wanted, he absolutely wouldn't have acted so lightly. How dare he try to sow discord in front of the Lord and speak ill of Lord Evil Doctor in front of the people from the Black Field? He was really courting death. "You!" Feng Yuan's two subordinates had ugly expressions. Just as they wanted to say something, Feng Yuan raised his hand to stop them. The face hidden under the white jade mask was deathly pale. Feng Yuan raised his head to look at the elegant youth standing behind the screen. She never thought that evil Dr. Ghost Eye would have such a high status in the Black Field. The power and love that Ming Zun gave her was actually so great. Was it because of her medical and alchemy skills that were praised by others? If she had known it would be like this, how could she have missed the opportunity? Feng Yuan looked at Luo Qingtong and couldn't hide the jealousy in her heart. She looked at Luo Qingtong and said, "I don't think what I said just now was wrong. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye, everyone says that your medical skills are unparalleled and your alchemy skills are unparalleled. I don't think so." As she spoke, she arrogantly pushed away the people who were supporting her. She raised her head to look at Luo Qingtong and said, "If you're really proud of your strength, then compete with me. If you win, I'll give you the heavenly water jade heart lotus in my hands." If you lose, you'll admit that you're not as good as me and leave the Black Field and Ming Zun. How about it? Do you dare to compete with me? Feng Wuan's eyes were gloomy and cold. At this time, she also saw that the heavenly water jade heart lotus was what Luo Qingtong wanted. Since that was the case, she would take this opportunity to destroy evil Dr. Ghost Eye's reputation. Chapter 7:15. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes at Feng Wuan. The little pig in her mind was already throwing a tantrum. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and agree to her request. Crush her to death. F***CK. This heavenly doctor's words are too arrogant. Where did she get the face to do that? Is her reputation comparable to yours? Compared to you, she's not even worth a fart. Who gave her the confidence? She actually wants to compete with you in medical skills and medicine refining skills. She doesn't even know that the person who almost tortured her into a dog in the King Ning estate was you. No, I get angry when I see her face. Hurry up and slap her face. Hurry up and slap her face. Luo Qingtong ignored it. She pressed down on its pink and round body and looked at Feng Wuan. Not interested. She turned around to leave as she spoke. If you want to sell the heavenly water jade heart lotus, then sell it. If you don't want to sell it, then take it back yourself. I don't care. What? Little pig almost jumped up in Luo Qingtong's arms. It shouted in disbelief in Luo Qingtong's mind, are you serious? You're going to let this heavenly doctor go just like that? Besides, don't you really need that heavenly water jade heart lotus? It's such a good opportunity. Why don't you go? Slap her face. Then you can win that heavenly water jade heart lotus. What a good opportunity. Even if I don't compete with her, I can still get that heavenly water jade heart lotus. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent, but a cold glint flashed through her eyes. She's not worthy of me betting for her. She wants me to bet with Yi Qianxian. Is there something wrong with this heavenly doctor's brain? Even if I don't compete with her, I have countless ways to get that heavenly water jade heart lotus. Why must I compete with her? Just to slap her face. Pfft. Luo Qingtong sneered in disdain. If the other party hadn't made a prompt decision in Prince Ning's mansion, who knew what would happen to him now? How dare he suggest to compete with her? He even dared to ask her to leave Yi Qianxian. Luo Qingtong was too lazy to pay attention to the other party. However, Feng Wuan didn't think so. When she saw that Luo Qingtong didn't accept her challenge, she thought that she was afraid of her. She immediately said coldly, Evil Dr. Gui Tong, are you afraid? Afraid of losing to me? If that's the case, then you should leave the Black Field immediately. Leave Ming Zun. A person without ability is not qualified to stay by his side. Feng Wuan said proudly. Luo Qingtong didn't even dare to accept her challenge, which meant that the other party didn't have the confidence to win. If that was the case, what right did he have to stay in the Black Field and stay by Ming Zun's side? She, the heavenly doctor, was the one who had the right to stay in the Black Field and enjoy her current glory. Hearing the arrogance and disdain hidden in Feng Wuan's words, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. She was just about to turn around and leave when she suddenly stopped. Some people are. The more you ignore them, the more they jump around. Luo Qingtong coldly narrowed her eyes and looked at Feng Wuan's figure hidden in the white robe. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. As long as you can take out something that is worthy of Ming Zun's identity in the Black Field, I will compete with you. Otherwise, who are you mocking with a heavenly water jade heart lotus? Humph. Feng Wuan looked at Luo Qingtong and sneered. This evil Dr. Gui Tong didn't have any more tricks, right? She wanted to use this method to shut her mouth. Unfortunately, she really had such a treasure in her hands. Thinking of the thing she had in her hands, Feng Wuan clenched her teeth. She couldn't trap the wolf without risking the child. The other party was clearly looking for an excuse. She definitely couldn't let her run away. Chapter 7:16. Swoosh. A palm-sized cauldron instantly appeared in her hand. Then, she raised her hand and the cauldron instantly grew with the wind. In an instant, it turned into a huge cauldron that was more than 10 meters tall and covered in a diagram of the sun, moon, and stars. The cauldron emitted an ancient and boundless aura. It was obvious that it wasn't an ordinary item. Even with Luo Qingtong's eyesight, she couldn't see through its level for a moment. At this moment, Little Pig's voice suddenly rang out. "Square immortal cauldron!" he exclaimed in Luo Qingtong's mind. Then, he hurriedly said, "Quick, quick, quick! Hurry up and agree. I didn't expect that the square immortal cauldron that had disappeared for a long time would appear here. This is a good treasure. This heavenly doctor seems to have obtained a great opportunity. She has the heavenly water jade heart lotus and the square immortal cauldron. She definitely doesn't know how precious this cauldron is. Master, hurry up and agree. In the future, you won't have to worry about the cauldron exploding when you refine pills. Moreover, there are some things hidden inside that are beneficial to you and that man. Hurry, hurry, hurry." Little Pig's voice was indescribably anxious. It was as if the square immortal cauldron would grow legs and run away if he spoke slower. In fact, this cauldron was someone else's. Square immortal cauldron. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. She looked at the huge cauldron and was about to ask for more details when she heard Feng Wuan's voice. "This cauldron is a peerless treasured cauldron that I obtained by chance. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye, aren't you an alchemist? I bet this cauldron with the heavenly water jade heart lotus. It should be enough for you to compete with me, right? After all, this cauldron is a priceless treasure to an alchemist." As Feng Wuan spoke, he looked at Luo Qingtong with a mocking expression. Her heart was actually pained when she took out the square immortal cauldron. However, she was certain that Luo Qingtong was just looking for an excuse to ask her to take out a sufficient price. Thus, she endured the pain and took it out. As long as he could force the other party to compete with him, then defeat Luo Qingtong in front of everyone. This cauldron was still his. Feng Wuan was full of confidence. "All right." Luo Qingtong looked at the cauldron and immediately stopped being pretentious. The treasure was right in front of her, yet the other party kept begging her to take it. If she didn't make a move now, she would be letting the other party down. Lord Evil Doctor. Upon hearing Luo Qingtong's agreement, the Blackfield powerhouse, who had originally heaved a sigh of relief because of Luo Qingtong's refusal, was shocked. "My Lord Evil Doctor. Why did you agree? This was gambling with a High Lord." If the High Lord found out, the Blackfield expert's face instantly turned bitter. "Lord Evil Doctor, you don't have to pay attention to this kind of person. If he had known earlier, he would have directly sent the other party vomiting blood with a single blow. Who would have thought that the other party would say something like that? She actually wanted the Lord Evil Doctor to compete with her. If she lost, she would have to leave the Blackfield and the High Lord. How could this be? If the High Lord knew, he would explode at any moment. The Blackfield expert hurriedly tried to stop her. Feng Wuan listened to the other party's words and instantly clenched her teeth in anger. When she defeated the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, these people in the Blackfield would know who they should curry favor with. "Evil Dr. Ghost Eye, let's go out and compete." She looked at Luo Qingtong and said coldly. She wanted Luo Qingtong to lose her reputation in front of everyone in the Blackfield. This proved that the other party, the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, was simply inferior to her. "All right. Luo Qingtong looked at her and instantly understood her plan. Since the other party wanted to become famous so much, then she would help her. Chapter 717. In the Blackfield main city, in the central arena of the Bloody Arena. The Bloody Arena in the Blackfield main city could not be compared to the Bloody Arena in the Blackfield sub-city of the Eastern Fence Nation. There were countless experts in the Great Chu's sacred dynasty. There were many people who came to compete in the Bloody Arena in the Blackfield main city. As for the central arena, it was the most central arena in the Black region main city. The fighting ring here was not something that ordinary people could enter. Only the battles between Saint Realm experts would be held in this arena. At this moment, the people in the Blackfield main city saw that the huge defensive shield that covered the central arena in the center of the main city had opened. Rumble. As the light of the huge defensive shield opened, the people in the entire Blackfield main city were in an uproar. Did you see that? The defensive shield of the central arena has opened. Wow! Were there Sage Realm experts who were going to fight here? It must be. Otherwise, the defensive shield of the main city central arena would not open for no reason. I'm so excited to be able to see a battle between Saint Realm experts. Let's go. Let's go and see. In an instant, countless figures suddenly flew into the air and rushed to the central arena from all directions in the Blackfield main city. However, when they arrived there, the people realized that it was not the battle between Saint Realm experts that they had imagined. In the central arena, there were two people standing on the left and right. One of them was wearing a white robe and a blank jade white mask. When the snow-white robe fluttered, there was a faint feeling of floating immortality. The other person was dressed in red. His long robe fluttered in the wind, and he wore a ferocious and evil Rakshasa ghost mask. That terrifying face and that gorgeous robe formed a strong contrast. Just standing there, she was a synonym for absolute enchanting and evil charm. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. The moment they saw Luo Qingtong, those who flew to the central arena instantly cried out in surprise. Most of them had only vaguely heard of Luo Qingtong's name. He knew that when she appeared, she was wearing a black cloak and a Rakshasa ghost mask. But today, when they saw Luo Qingtong dressed in a colorful robe, they still recognized this youth who didn't often appear in front of others, but who had almost set off a frenzy of pursuit across the entire continent. Even though he was wearing a red robe. Oh my God! It was said that anyone who saw the evil Dr. Ghost Eye would be able to recognize him at a glance. I didn't believe it before. A powerhouse from the east muttered to himself. Am I the only one who is sighing? Is evil Dr. Ghost Eye really that young? Young man. He was really just a teenager. To think that I never believed him and thought that he was an old man. These were the words of a powerhouse who had rushed over from the west. All around the stage, there were all kinds of discussions about the nefarious Dr. Ghost pupil. Almost everyone recognized Luo Qingtong's identity in an instant. Even if there were some who didn't recognize her occasionally, they recognized her true identity with the help of the people around them. Ah, that's not right. What is the Blackfield main city doing by opening the central arena? Who is the person opposite evil Dr. Ghost Eye? Chapter 718. With such a voice, everyone's eyes finally moved away from Luo Qingtong and fell on Feng Yuan. The latter had long been the focus of attention, yet she had been forgotten by everyone. She was so irritated that she clenched her teeth. Everyone was talking about evil Dr. Ghost Eye, but they didn't care about her at all. Were these people all blind? How could she not compare to evil Dr. Ghost Eye? Feng Yuan's eyes were ice cold. He looked at Luo Qingtong with increasingly resentful eyes. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Let's carry out this competition according to the orthodox competition between alchemists. How about it? This way, Whoever loses will have no way to deny it. The orthodox competition between alchemists was a best-of-3 competition. Moreover, it had a fixed format. Feng Wuan proposed this competition because he didn't want Luo Qingtong to have an easy time. He wanted to humiliate her. At the same time, he wanted her to have no excuse. He wanted to humiliate Luo Qingtong in front of countless people in the Black Field. He wanted everyone to see just how big the gap between them was. Okay. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She could see through Feng Yuan's little thoughts at a glance. Since the other party wasn't willing to be released so quickly, and wanted to slowly accept the humiliation, she was naturally willing to fulfill her wish. Good. Feng Yuan looked at Luo Qingtong with cold eyes. The first competition will be the two of us. We will each refine a bottle of medicinal liquid, and then we will have the other party tell us the composition of each other's medicinal liquid. Whoever tells us everything first will win. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded. Then let's begin. Feng Yuan sneered. She had great confidence in her alchemy skills. At the same time, she was born in the Great Yong dynasty. In the true Spill continent, besides a few rare treasures, what kind of medicinal herbs had she not seen? And evil Dr. Ghost I was only an alchemist from the Eastern Fence Nation's Black Field. It was rumored that she might be a direct descendant of some powerful family, or someone from that place. But Feng Yuan didn't think so. If Luo Qingtong was really from that place, how could she have such a weak cultivation? How could they rise from a low-level Black Field city like Dongli country? She felt that the other party was just a person who had inexplicably obtained a fortuitous encounter. The biggest weakness of such a person was his shallow knowledge and lack of foundation. Thinking of this, Feng Yuan smiled coldly, raised his hand and set up a barrier around himself, and began to refine medicine. Shwa. At the same time, Luo Qingtong also placed her own aura around her. She didn't need to use too much strength. In this central arena, the defensive barrier enveloping it would naturally prevent others from seeing through her aura and clearly seeing her refining process and medicinal ingredients. That heavenly doctor's background seems to be quite extraordinary. Within the true Spill continent, there was nothing that this person didn't recognize. What are you going to do? Little Pig looked at Luo Qingtong. You can't lose. That square immortal furnace. Enough. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and pinched Little Pig's nose. Don't worry. When have you ever seen me do something that I'm not confident in? She definitely won't win. Even if it weren't for the square immortal furnace, she still wouldn't let her win. Otherwise, where would she put her face as evil Dr. Ghost Eye? Not to mention, this person wanted her to leave Yi Qianxian and replace him with her own identity. Thinking that this person might covet Yi Qianxian, Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with killing intent. No one could touch the man she fancied. Chapter 719. They look like they're going to refine pills. Looking at Luo Qingtong and Feng Yuan's actions, the surrounding crowd then realized that the two of them were going to compete in refining pills. Instantly, the crowd around them boiled with excitement. I heard that evil Dr. Ghost Eye's medical skills are unparalleled and his refining skills are astonishing. Moreover, he's already an alchemist. I didn't expect that he would be competing in refining pills with someone else here. This time, we're really in for a treat. That's right. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye's battle is even more exciting than a battle between sage state experts. No wonder the Black Field main city would open the central arena. That's right. I wonder who's the one competing in refining pills with her. He's actually so daring to challenge Lord Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Doesn't he know Lord's name? I know this. I heard that he's called Heavenly Dr. Divine Hand. He claims that his refining skills aren't any worse than Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Recently, he's been very active in the Holy Dynasty and is highly sought after by many forces. Tisk. So it's a name that he's bragging about. What's there to be proud of? There are many alchemists who have been bragged about by those forces. How many of them can do what Lord Evil Doctor is doing? That's right. He's overestimating himself to challenge Lord Evil Doctor Ghost Eye. One must know that Lord Evil Doctor's reputation has spread all the way from the lower countries to here. There's no need to doubt his strength. Who knows how much of the flattery from those large forces are exaggerating? That's right. A group of people discussed animatedly. These voices passed through the defensive barrier of the central arena and into Feng Wuan's ears. Instantly, she was so angry that she was about to explode. She knew that Evil Dr. Ghost Eye's reputation in the Black Field and the mainland was very big, but she didn't expect it to be to this extent. She had challenged the other party and these people actually said that she was overestimating herself. Were they that confident in Evil Dr. Ghost Eye's strength? Humph. After this competition, these people will know that their words are a slap in the face. Feng Wuan's expression was icy cold. In the next second, stalks of rare medicinal herbs appeared in front of her. Looking at these herbs, Feng Wuan's eyes flashed with a cold but proud light. Then, he began to refine the medicine. This time, she had come prepared. In these 3 matches, she must make Evil Dr. Gui Tong lose miserably. When she began to refine the medicine, Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with a bloody light. She had also begun to refine the medicine. It was just that the medicinal herbs she had chosen were truly indescribable. Little Pig stared dumbfoundedly at the medicinal ingredients in her hands. His pig face instantly distorted to the point that it was unbearable to look at. My master. My ancestor. You're using these drugs to compete with her. Is there something wrong with your brain? Did you become stupid from chatting with me just now? I told you to win, not to lose. Little Pig's round and chubby body looked like it was about to jump up. Was this woman crazy? She actually used these medicines to compete with that heavenly doctor. Wasn't it obvious that he wanted to give the other party a chance to win? Master, no, ancestor. Can you stop messing around? Although it's a best of 3 match, it doesn't matter if you lose 1 match. But what if the other party turns the tables around? Little Pig was about to explode when he saw Luo Qingtong's actions. Chapter 720. Rest assured my ass. Little Pig's face twitched as he looked at the bottle of medicinal liquid in her hand. There was no other reason. The medicinal liquid that Luo Qingtong used to refine was the lowest grade of medicinal herbs. Medicinal herbs that were so low grade that they could be found all over the streets of low-grade countries. They were as inconspicuous as weeds. Only the most ordinary and common medicine halls would purchase some of those medicinal herbs. Because the consumption of low-grade medicinal herbs was large, even if they were like weeds, it was sometimes too late to pluck them. Luo Qingtong actually used the medicinal liquid refined from these medicinal herbs to compete with the heavenly divine doctor. Wasn't this the same as delivering food to the heavenly divine doctor? That kind of medicinal liquid, even an ordinary person who had never cultivated before would be able to tell the medicinal ingredients in it, and could even refine 1 or 2. To be precise, it was similar to those medicines used to treat injuries. Little Pig almost fainted as he looked at the medicinal liquid. What the hell? It's so simple. Even a pig can say it out smoothly. What the hell is this woman doing? Just as it was thinking this, on the other side, Feng Yuan had already finished refining the medicinal liquid and removed the protection around its body. I'm done. She proudly looked in Luo Qingtong's direction. The latter also removed the protection around her. I'm done too. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. The two of them handed over their respective medicinal liquids to the people of the Black Field. They also wrote down the names of the medicinal herbs needed to refine the medicinal liquid and handed them over to the people of the Black Field. Among them, there were many alchemists from the Black Field's main city. The Black Field's main city wasn't like the other Black Field sub-cities. Other than the alchemists cultivated by the Black Field, there were many alchemists from other forces. When these people heard that evil physician Ghost I was going to compete with the heavenly divine doctor, they immediately rushed over. First, they were there to act as referees. Second, they wanted to observe the battle between the two. After all, Luo Qingtong and Feng Wuan's alchemy skills were above theirs. Ordinary heavenly alchemists couldn't be compared to them. Especially evil physician Ghost Eye, who was already an alchemist at such a young age. It was even more admirable. However, when those pharmacists received the medicinal liquid that Luo Qingtong handed over and the medicinal liquid formula that she wrote down, everyone's expressions instantly became incomparably strange. Their faces twitched as they looked at Luo Qingtong and then at the formula. They didn't know how to express their feelings. This Lord Evil Dr. Ghost I was truly too unconventional in playing his cards. Looking at their expressions, Feng Wuan's face darkened. Could it be that the medicinal liquid refined by the evil Dr. Gui Tong was extremely precious? Rare in the world. Was that why they had such expressions? That's right, the Black Field has plenty of resources. The amount of medicinal herbs that evil Dr. Gui Tong could obtain was not inferior to hers. However, the only thing she had that was better than Luo Qingtong was that she had seen all kinds of rare medicinal herbs since she was young. In this aspect, evil physician Gui Tong was definitely inferior to her. Even if there were Black Field's resources to make up for it in the later stages. Her knowledge of medicinal herbs might not be as much as his. As Feng Wuan thought so, he immediately set his mind at ease. The two people's medicinal liquids were exchanged. Luo Qingtong's medicinal liquid was delivered in front of Feng Wuan. Feng Wuan's medicinal liquid was delivered in front of Luo Qingtong. The two of you each say the medicinal ingredients in the medicinal liquid. Whoever finishes first wins. As the Black Field's people spoke, they took out the names of the medicinal herbs that Luo Qingtong and Feng Wuan, the two of them, refined and covered it with a red cloth. Chapter 721. Feng Wuan was brimming with confidence. She looked at the bottle of medicinal liquid that had been delivered to her. She opened it and prepared to sniff out the medicinal liquid's composition. She did not believe that the medicinal liquid refined by Luo Qingtong would be able to stop her. In this world, there were no rare medicinal ingredients that she did not know. However, when she opened the bottle, she was completely dumbfounded. What is this? Feng Yuan looked at the bottle of medicinal liquid that was presented in front of him in shock. Was this a medicinal liquid? The spirit qi contained in it was extremely thin. Not only that, but the medicinal energy contained within was weak and heterogeneous. Feng Yuan had lived for so long, but she had never seen such a heterogeneous and weak medicinal energy. This was a bottle of medicinal liquid. How could there be such a trashy medicinal liquid? Feng Yuan's eyes were filled with disbelief. She had grown up in a wealthy family. She had seen from a young age that even a strand of grass contained more spiritual energy than this medicinal liquid. At this moment, looking at this bottle of medicinal liquid in front of her, she was completely at a loss. The first princess of the Great Yong dynasty had never seen the cheap medicinal ingredients of the lowest-ranked countries. Not to mention this kind of low-grade medicinal liquid that ordinary people could use for no reason. She had never even touched it before. In an instant, Feng Yuan's brain crashed. She looked at the bottle of medicinal liquid in front of her, her mind completely blank. On the other side, Luo Qingtong had already begun to leisurely speak of the medicinal ingredients in the bottle of medicinal liquid refined by Feng Yuan. Her speaking speed was extremely slow, stopping as she thought. It was as if she was waiting for Feng Yuan to catch up. However, no matter how much Feng Yuan racked her brains, she did not have the slightest impression of those cheap and low-grade medicinal ingredients. Her complexion was extremely unsightly. If it were not for that blank jade-white mask covering her face, it was likely that everyone around the central stage would be able to see her unsightly and ashen complexion. Wow! It can't be. What's the matter with this divine heavenly doctor? She can't even recognize such a simple medicinal liquid. I know all about it. That's right. What heavenly doctor divine hands. Blowing his own trumpet was shameless. You can't even recognize such a simple medicinal liquid. I think I should be the heavenly holy doctor. Ha! That's right. Even with our eyes closed, we can tell the ingredients of this medicinal liquid. What a joke. Heavenly medical sage hand. Lord Evil Dr. Gui Tong is obviously giving her a handicap, but she still can't win. I can't. I'm dying of laughter. This heavenly doctor wasn't here to compete, right? Is she here to be funny? There was a burst of laughter from below. Everyone looked at Feng Yuan on the stage as if they were watching a joke. He's even a heavenly doctor. Not being able to identify the medicinal ingredients of such a simple medicinal liquid, it was really laughable. Just where did this heavenly doctor divine hand come from? Feng Yuan's expression was unspeakably ugly. Under the unsightly appearance, there was also an unbearable embarrassment. She boasted that her medical skills and medicine refining skills were not inferior to Luo Qingtong. In the end, she was crushed by the other party in such a manner in the first round. If she said that her speed was slower than Luo Qingtong, losing this round would still be alright. At least it would prove that her strength was not inferior to Luo Qingtong. It was just that her luck was slightly worse. She was one step behind. But now, she could not even name a single medicinal ingredient. But Luo Qingtong was neither hurried nor slow as she named one medicinal ingredient after another. This kind of crushing made Feng Yuan feel extremely humiliated in her heart. Chapter 722. Ha! She can't say it out loud. Seeing this scene, Little Pig almost laughed himself to death. He thought Luo Qingtong was going to lose for sure. He thought Luo Qingtong was going to give the heavenly divine doctor a chance to win, and then crush him in the next 2 rounds. Little did he expect that the heavenly divine doctor couldn't say the ingredients of the low-grade medicinal liquid Luo Qingtong refined. Little Pig rolled around in Luo Qingtong's sleeve as he watched the heavenly divine doctor's sullen expression and the mocking laughter around him. Was there anything more face-slapping than this? Oh my god! Luo Qingtong's skill is simply amazing. Did you do it on purpose? How did you know she couldn't recognize it? Little Pig couldn't stop laughing. At the same time, he was full of admiration for Luo Qingtong. This face-slapping method was simply too ruthless. Other people would only slap the face, but Luo Qingtong's face-slapping was like a wheel rolling around. She used the cheapest and lowest-grade medicinal liquid to slap the face. Everyone knew about it, but that heavenly divine doctor didn't know about it. She slapped the heavenly divine doctor's face until it was swollen. The heavenly divine doctor claimed that Luo Qingtong's alchemy skills were inferior to hers. The more arrogant the heavenly divine doctor was, the more ruthless the face-slapping was. Simply amazing. Luo Qingtong was going to ascend to heaven. Luo Qingtong smiled but didn't say anything. That heavenly divine doctor was obviously from a prestigious family. She was extremely arrogant and condescending, and even spoke in an arrogant and bossy manner. How could she know about the low-grade medicinal liquid that even ordinary people could refine? Not to mention the ingredients used to refine the medicinal liquid. Most likely, when she first started to practice refining medicinal liquids, she started with precious medicinal herbs that ordinary people couldn't obtain, right? She directly skipped the refining steps of ordinary apprentice alchemists. This was the Heavenly Divine Doctor's strong point, but it was also the Heavenly Divine Doctor's weak point. I told you, she can't win. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. As she spoke, a blood-red light flashed in her eyes. Not only did she want the other party to be unable to win, she wanted to completely crush him. He wanted the other party to remember this humiliation the moment he heard his name. The Heavenly Doctor's ability to refine medicine was stronger than the evil doctor's ghost eye. That was impossible. It was just a joke. Evil, doctor, ghost, eye. When Luo Qingtong said the name of another medicinal herb, Feng Wan, who was almost driven mad by the ridicule of the surrounding people, finally exploded. She gritted her teeth and looked at Luo Qingtong. Don't be so smug. So what if you use such an opportunistic method to win this round? I'll crush you in the next 2 rounds. As she spoke, she turned around and faced the Blackfields people and the pharmacists on the stage. I admit defeat for this round. Let's move on to the next round. When Feng Wan said this, his voice was trembling. She was too angry. She didn't expect this evil Dr. Ghost Eye to be so cunning. He actually used this kind of trashy medicinal liquid that only low-level martial artists and ordinary people could use for her to identify. Feng Wan was the #1 princess of the Great Yong dynasty. She was also the #1 genius and a natural pharmacist. When had she ever touched this kind of trashy medicinal liquid? It was fine if she couldn't identify it, but she was also ridiculed by others who questioned her strength as a heavenly doctor. When had Feng Wan suffered such ridicule and humiliation? Moreover, she had previously said that her refining ability was stronger than Luo Qingtong. At this moment, all of these words were thrown back at her with a slap in the face. Feng Wan was so angry that her whole body was trembling. She directly admitted defeat for this round, so as to avoid suffering such ridicule and humiliation. In the next round, she wanted these people to know her true strength. Chapter 723. Alright, the first round, evil Dr. Gui Tong wins. Following Feng Wan's admission of defeat, the people at the Blackfield side directly announced that Luo Qingtong had won this round. Hua! Lord Evil Dr. Gui Tong wins. Indeed, Lord Evil Doctor's strength is the strongest. A miraculous doctor who rose from nothing. Lord Evil Dr. Gui Tong's true strength is not something that ordinary people can compare to, okay? Moreover, she is also an alchemist. If she didn't refine medicine to the extreme, how could she possibly refine pills? This heavenly doctor really doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. That's right. You see that she admitted defeat just like that, and she even said that Lord Evil Dr. Gui Tong relied on opportunistic methods to win. These words are really shameless. That's right. It's clearly her own foundation that is not solid enough. She can't even recognize the composition of this kind of low-level and simple medicinal liquid, and she still dares to say that it's Lord Evil Dr. Gui Tong's fault. This ability to make a false accusation is also amazing. A group of people were discussing animatedly below the stage, looking down on Feng Wan's words very much. If she lost, then she lost. She couldn't recognize the medicinal ingredients, and she still blamed Lord Evil Dr. Gui Tong. You couldn't even catch the questions that others gave you, and you still have the face to say it. If they encountered this kind of situation, they would have long plunged their heads into the ground, wishing that they could bury themselves in a pile of soil, okay? Really too shameless. The group of people was very disdainful in their hearts. When Feng Wan heard these words, she was so angry that she clenched her silver teeth tightly. What did these blind trash know? If evil Dr. Gui Tong didn't rely on this opportunistic method, she wouldn't have been able to win the first round at all, okay? She was just a person who only knew how to use unorthodox methods. In this round, she would let them see what a true genius alchemist was. Swish! Feng Yuan raised her hand and took back her bottle of medicinal liquid. She looked coldly at Luo Qingtong and said with a sneer, "This second round is competing on the effects of the medicinal liquid. Let's see who can maximize the effects of the medicinal liquid." Evil physician Gui Tong, in order to take advantage of the situation, you purposely concocted the most inferior and trashiest medicinal liquid. Let's see how much more effective this medicinal liquid can be. As she spoke, she smiled coldly and ordered someone to bring a martial artist up. That cultivator was a peak martial emperor. His face was deathly pale, as if he had taken some kind of poison or had some kind of injury on his body. Feng Yuan looked at the other party and said, "This person's internal organs were hit by an extremely insidious palm strike. If there is no treatment, his entire body will rot and turn into a pool of blood and die. The medicinal liquid in my hand can treat the injuries in his body. Watch carefully." As she spoke, she directly handed the medicinal liquid in her hand to that person and coldly said, "Drink it with the vinegar." The man trembled as he took the bottle of liquid medicine from her and drank it together with the vinegar that was served by the Blackfield people. Schwa! As soon as the medicinal liquid entered his mouth, his pale face began to slowly turn rosy. As soon as that person opened his mouth, he immediately felt that his voice had become full of energy. The pain in his internal organs also disappeared. He tried to shoot out a burst of energy. That burst of energy exploded on the stage. The attack power is very formidable, it didn't weaken the slightest bit. My injuries are healed. That martial artist doesn't dare to believe his eyes. His injuries were extremely serious, it was almost impossible to save him. That palm was practically going to shatter his internal organs. His opponent's medicinal liquid was able to cure him. That martial artist became extremely excited. Chapter 724. Before he could kneel down to thank Feng Yuan, a mysterious and proud smile suddenly appeared on the latter's face. "It's not over yet." Along with Feng Yuan's voice sounding out, an unexpected change suddenly occurred. Ah! That martial artist who was kneeling on the ground and was about to thank Feng Yuan suddenly exploded into a bloody mist one after another. Countless black auras spread out from the wounds all over his body like vines, spreading all over his body. Those strands of black auras were very thick and solid. At first glance, it looked like countless black earthworms crawling on his body. Feng Yuan narrowed her eyes and sneered. Looking at Luo Qingtong, she raised her head proudly. "Ultimate medicine to ultimate poison. Evil Dr. Gui Tong, can you do it?" Feng Yuan's heart was full of pride. Her ultimate medicine to ultimate poison was a combination of medicine and poison. The dual attribute reversal was her trump card. She dared to say that in this world, other than those old freaks who had studied alchemy to the peak, no one else would be able to do what she did. She was a natural alchemist and had the talent to become an alchemist. What was evil Dr. Gui Tong? If the ultimate medicine and ultimate poison in Luo Qingtong's eyes was really neutralized by evil Dr. Gui Tong, then the other party would definitely be inferior to her. Because that ultimate medicine and ultimate poison was only one of her methods. It couldn't be compared to the ultimate medicine to ultimate poison that she was using now. Extreme medicine and extreme poison. It was just that the arrangement of the medicine could be refined into medicine or poison. The final effect of the medicinal liquid was still a kind of medicine poison. But the medicinal liquid that she was refining now was both medicine and poison. Depending on the different ways of taking it, she could make it poison or medicine if she wanted it to be medicine. What could evil Dr. Gui Tong use to compare with her? Medicinal pills. She. Those medicinal pills that were sold in the Blackfield city of Eastern Fence Country might not be refined by the other party herself. What's more, ordinary medicinal pills couldn't neutralize her ultimate medicine to ultimate poison. Even if evil Dr. Gui Tong was really an alchemist, how high could her alchemy level be? The true inheritance of an alchemist was not in this true spill continent. What evil Dr. Gui Tong knew was only the tip of the iceberg. Feng Yuan was very proud. She proudly looked at Luo Qingtong, her eyes sweeping over everyone present, and said, "Now you know what true strength is." Evil Dr. Gui Tong. Ha! Feng Yuan coldly smiled, clearly showing her contempt for Luo Qingtong. There was complete silence all around. If it was just now, her sneer would have caused everyone to attack her and laugh at her for overestimating her own capabilities. However, at this moment, everyone was dumbfounded as they stared at the cultivator who was rolling and screaming on the arena. The poison that erupted from the other party's body was so obvious. It wasn't there just a moment ago. Moreover, his injuries. This competition was supported by the people of the Dark Domain. It was absolutely impossible for the other party to tamper with it. That was to say, the other party had really turned her medicinal liquid into poison after curing that martial artist's injuries. Heavens! This alchemy skill was simply heaven-defying. The other party's reputation as a heavenly doctor was not undeserved. Her alchemy skills were actually so fierce. Just as everyone was stunned by Feng Yuan's move, Yi Zichen suddenly spoke. Chapter 725. She walked straight to the martial artist who was wailing and rolling on the stage. She raised her hand and handed over the bottle of medicinal liquid in her hand. "Drink it." Seeing Luo Qingtong's actions, Feng Yuan sneered. Her heart was filled with disdain. "Evil Dr. Gui Tong, the medicinal liquid that you refined is the most trashy medicinal liquid. Don't talk about curing my poison, it's not even certain if it will be effective on him. You don't have any other ideas, so you came here to play to the gallery." Feng Yuan's heart was filled with disdain. She didn't believe that Luo Qingtong could use that bottle of medicinal liquid to cure her poison. Only she knew about the fusion and transformation of the medicinal properties. Luo Qingtong definitely couldn't see through it in a short period of time. Not to mention using a bottle of trash-like medicinal liquid to detoxify his own poison. Even if Luo Qingtong added the best things into that medicinal liquid, it wouldn't be as effective. After all, the other party's medicinal liquid's grade had already determined that its improvement was limited. Luo Qingtong was bound to lose this round. However, just as her voice fell, that martial artist who had been tortured to the point where his life was worse than death had already grabbed the bottle of medicinal liquid that Luo Qingtong had handed over and drank it in one gulp. He had no other ideas now. He could only use Luo Qingtong as his last life-saving straw. Evil Dr. Gui Tong's medical skills are unparalleled. She will definitely be able to save me. As he thought so, he drank the entire bottle of medicinal liquid in Luo Qingtong's hands without hesitation. Humph! Feng Yuan sneered. The other party was just struggling on his deathbed. The medicinal liquid that Luo Qingtong refined was of such a low grade. To him, it was just like drinking plain water. When this person died from the poison, he would know how laughable his thoughts were. Hoping that evil Dr. Gui Tong would use her low-grade medicinal liquid to save him. More like a dream. However, as Feng Yuan was thinking this, the martialist's body suddenly stopped moving. Humph, dead. Feng Yuan looked at Luo Qingtong with a happy expression, and sneered, "Evil Dr. Gui Tong, you've lost." Seeing the martial artist's body suddenly stop twitching and rolling on the stage, Feng Yuan raised his head high. "Really? Look again." Luo Qingtong looked at her indifferently. "Humph. No matter how much you look." Feng Yuan's voice suddenly stopped. Her face was filled with shock as she looked at the warrior who suddenly stood up from the ring. The woman's face was flushed red, and her body, which looked like black earthworms crawling all over her body, was no longer there. The wounds all over his body had also completely healed. He was actually fine. Look! The poison is gone. Oh my God! Evil Dr. Ghost Eye is indeed the most powerful. This is the ultimate medicine that has been turned into the ultimate poison. She can actually cure it. She's really too powerful. The crowd below the stage had already gone completely crazy when they saw this scene. They were shocked by Feng Wuan's methods before, and now they were shocked when they saw Luo Qingtong cure the poison. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye was indeed different from the rest. She could even cure this kind of heaven-defying method. In this world, other than those reclusive and rare peerless doctors, who else could be her opponent? The crowd cheered loudly. When Feng Wuan saw this scene, he couldn't believe it. Impossible. There's no way that bottle of trash medicine of yours can cure my poison. Chapter 726. It's true that I didn't cure your poison. As she spoke, she lifted her eyes to look at Feng Wuan, and the smile on her lips was unbridled. I did reverse your poison. As Luo Qingtong's voice fell, the surrounding voices instantly fell silent. What did Lord Evil Dr. Gui Tong say? The crowd below the stage was indescribably shocked. It seems like she said that she reversed the heavenly doctor's poison, a warrior murmured. Ha! Are you kidding? Did you hear wrongly? The heavenly doctor's hand can turn ultimate medicine into ultimate poison. It's already good enough that Lord Evil Doctor can cure the poison. How is it possible? Before the other warrior could finish his words, his voice was stuck in his throat. He looked at the scene in the arena with a shocked expression. Boom! All of a sudden, an extremely powerful medicinal strength erupted from the poisoned martial artist's body. Under the effect of this medicinal power, the warrior's aura instantly soared. Boom! 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 As the aura in his body broke through layer by layer. In the next second, with a pop, the aura around his body seemed to have broken out of a cocoon and suddenly soared. Martial Ancestor Realm. That pinnacle martial emperor powerhouse had shockingly risen to the martial ancestor realm under such circumstances. Everyone could clearly see that what that warrior drank was indeed the low-grade medicinal liquid refined by Luo Qingtong, which only had a trace of weak spiritual energy. Therefore, that majestic medicinal power was definitely not the effect of that bottle of low-grade medicinal liquid. Therefore, ultimate poison turned ultimate medicine. The poison that the heavenly doctor's hand put in that warrior's body was completely reversed. It turned into a majestic and vast medicinal power, which directly allowed that warrior to benefit from a disaster. His aura soared, and he broke through to the martial ancestor realm. Oh my God! Lord Evil Dr. Gui Tong actually did it. Ultimate medicine turned to poison, then turned to medicine. Oh my God, this is definitely a pinnacle battle between alchemists. And Lord Evil Dr. Gui Tong's move is simply amazing. It's not just amazing, it's simply unprecedented and will never be replicated. Any expert who was slightly knowledgeable about the situation let out a series of exclamations at this moment. Not for other reasons, but Luo Qingtong's skill was clearly superior to his when it came to the transformation of ultimate medicine and ultimate poison. Feng Wuan's transformation was because she was the one who refined the medicine. Naturally, she knew the details and also knew what method to use to reverse it. Don't think that she lifted something heavy in the arena like it was light. Who knew how many times she had practiced it in private? But Luo Qingtong, on the basis of Feng Wuan ultimate medicine to reverse poison from ultimate medicine. What she used was a completely unknown opponent's medicine. In addition, the bottle in her hand, was a low-grade medicinal liquid. She completed this kind of reversal, oh my god. Everyone stared at this scene with their mouths agape. They simply did not know how to react. Feng Yuan was also dumbfounded. Ultimate poison to ultimate medicine evil Feng Luo Feng T's use a low-grade A-1s. How did she do it? Feng Yuan looked at Luo Qingtong, her eyes filled with disbelief. But this time, she couldn't even utter the word impossible. If Luo Qingtong used that bottle of low-grade medicinal liquid to neutralize her poison, she could still suspect that the other party used other methods. But ultimate poison to ultimate medicine was something that couldn't be resolved even if she used other methods. This was a genuine contest of alchemy skills. And Luo Qingtong completely crushed her. She used extremely precious medicinal herbs and refined medicinal liquid of heaven grade and above. The poison after the reversal was shocking. But Luo Qingtong only used a bottle of low-grade medicinal liquid to reverse her poison. Chapter 727. Second round, Evil Dr. Gui Tong wins. A voice announcing Luo Qingtong's victory resounded from the stage. Evil Dr. Gui Tong Darren, how did you manage to use a bottle of low-grade medicinal liquid to reverse the poison? The crowd of pharmacists looked at Luo Qingtong with burning eyes. Luo Qingtong's move was really too powerful. It wasn't something an ordinary person could do. They couldn't even imagine it. They had no idea how Luo Qingtong did it. Luo Qingtong looked at them with a smile that wasn't a smile. It's very simple. As long as you can purify that bottle of low-grade medicinal liquid a second time, it'll be fine. That's to refine medicine on top of the medicinal liquid. Luo Qingtong's bottle of low-grade medicinal liquid looked like it was still the same bottle of low-grade medicinal liquid. In fact, when she handed it to that martial artist, she had already used her eye technique to remove all the impurities inside. With Luo Qingtong's ability, that bottle of low-grade medicinal liquid was only left with a poison that could be compatible with the poison in that martial artist's body. Under such circumstances, when the other party drank that bottle of medicinal liquid, it naturally reacted with the poison in his body, directly reversing and synthesizing a new medicinal liquid. As long as they could see through the poison in the other party's body and remove the medicinal properties in the medicinal liquid, they could also achieve this. However, that wasn't something an ordinary person could do. Remove the medicinal properties. Refine medicine on top of the medicinal liquid. My God! Everyone was already gasping in amazement when they heard this. Not to mention the eyesight needed to see through the poison and medicinal properties in the other party's body, refining medicine on top of the medicinal liquid required a terrifying amount of control over the medicinal properties and the stability of the medicinal liquid. Everyone thought about it and realized that if it was them, they would definitely not be able to do it. They immediately admired Luo Qingtong even more. Feng Yuan also clenched her teeth for a while. She had previously said that Luo Qingtong relied on opportunistic tricks to win the previous round. This time, Luo Qingtong ruthlessly slapped her face back. If this kind of medicinal skill could be said to be opportunistic, then the difficulty of being opportunistic was too great. Moreover, she had originally thought that Luo Qingtong had only refined a bottle of trash medicine in the previous round, so she would definitely lose this round. However, he was ruthlessly and accurately slapped by the other party. How could her medical skills be so amazing? Damn it, if she had known, she would have used that trump card. Feng Yuan gritted his teeth and looked at Luo Qingtong. The girl also raised her eyebrows and looked at her. Luo Qingtong was dressed in men's clothing. Standing there, she looked extremely enchanting and charming. She slowly walked in front of Feng Yuan and slightly raised her face covered by the Rakshasa ghost mask. The corners of her lips curled up as she looked at the white-robed man opposite her and said, "Best of 3 wins. Heavenly Divine Doctor, I still have to thank you for going easy on me. It would be impolite for a rotten piece of wood like me to refuse. I will kindly accept your cauldron and heavenly water jade heart lotus. As soon as Luo Qingtong's words came out, Feng Wuan's face instantly flushed red and her blood rushed to her head. Previously, she ran to the city lord's mansion and said in front of Luo Qingtong that she and the other party were rotten wood and good wood. She also said that Luo Qingtong, this rotten piece of wood, was not worthy to stand beside Ming Zun and that she, this good wood, was the most suitable. This time, she was slapped in the face by Luo Qingtong. Not to mention that she lost 2 rounds in a row, she was still crushed. Feng Wuan's heart was filled with hatred and her entire body trembled. What was called humiliation? This was called humiliation. In front of everyone's eyes, in front of everyone's eyes. Chapter 728. Not only that, she had also lost 2 treasures. The heavenly water jade heart lotus and the square immortal cauldron. She had personally delivered these 2 items to Luo Qingtong. Thinking of this, Feng Wuan felt a fishy sweetness in her throat, and she was about to vomit blood. She fiercely pinched her palms, looked at Luo Qingtong, and said, "Evil physician Ghost Eye, I want to compete with you again." Previously, she had underestimated her opponent. This time, she would definitely not. That trump card of hers could definitely defeat Luo Qingtong. I'm not free. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows, turned around, and prepared to leave. She had already gotten the items, and she had more or less crushed her opponent. She had no time to play house with her opponent. Those 2 items, the heavenly water jade heart lotus and the square immortal cauldron, she had to go back and study them properly. How could she have the time to dawdle with her opponent? If not for the fact that this heavenly doctor had paid a sufficient price previously, Luo Qingtong would not have bothered with her. Evil physician Ghost Eye. Seeing Luo Qingtong turn around and prepare to leave, Feng Wuan gritted her teeth so hard that they were about to break. Since when had she been ignored like this? She would definitely return all the humiliation that the other party had given her in a while. Thinking of this, Feng Wuan's eyes suddenly flashed with a stern look. Within it, a faint purplish-green color flashed past. You and I will compete again. This time, we won't compete in anything else. Let's compete in identifying herbs with a mask, and see who can identify more herbs. How about it? As she spoke, she looked at Luo Qingtong with a cold smile. Aren't your medicinal skills unparalleled? Then your ability to identify herbs is definitely above mine. If you win this round, from now on, I will avoid you like the plague when I see you. In the future, I will never step into the black field again, and I will never appear in front of Ming Zun again. When Feng Wuan said this, she was also ruthless. This time, she would definitely be able to defeat Luo Qingtong. She did not believe that she would not be able to defeat her opponent with her extraordinary eyes. Luo Qingtong looked at her and raised her eyebrows. Just as she was about to say something, a voice suddenly entered her ears. Luo Qingtong's expression instantly changed. Not interested. She turned to leave after saying that. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Seeing that she was about to leave, Feng Wuan instantly became anxious. Are you scared? This time, I will definitely beat you. If you have the ability, then accept the challenge. Otherwise, even if you won the previous 2 rounds, I don't think you're better than me. That's your business. Luo Qingtong didn't even bother to look at her. It doesn't matter if you're willing to admit that you're inferior to me. As for me being afraid of you. Luo Qingtong leaped up. Wait till you can do what I just did to turn poison into medicine, then you can talk to me about this. As she spoke, her figure disappeared from the arena. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Feng Wuan's heart was filled with embarrassment. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Luo Qingtong's words were really a slap to her face. She wanted to provoke Luo Qingtong into competing with her in the third round, but Luo Qingtong didn't accept it at all. She directly used the result of the second round to slap her face. Unfortunately, Feng Wuan couldn't do anything about it. If she was able to do what Luo Qingtong did just now, why would she even think of using the third round to make a comeback? This evil Dr. Ghost Eye was really too hateful. She was obviously deliberately humiliating her like this. Feng Wuan's heart was filled with hatred to the extreme. The whispers around her and the mocking and disdainful gazes directed at her made her feel extremely embarrassed. Not only did she fail to slap the face, she was also slapped. This was her current situation. Feng Wuan came to the main city of the Black Field in high spirits, wanting to replace Luo Qingtong. Chapter 729. Let's go. She shouted with shame and anger on her face. Sooner or later, she would return all of this humiliation to evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Just you wait. The group of people fled the Blackfield main city in a sorry state like a pack of stray dogs. Luo Qingtong, after a few leaps, suddenly appeared at a corner of the wall behind the Blackfield main city's city lord mansion. Grandfather, where are you going? Looking at a certain sneaky figure lying on the wall, Luo Qingtong's face was full of helplessness. Ah! Qingtong! Ouch! Luo Leoi, who was lying on the wall and secretly preparing to climb over, suddenly heard Luo Qingtong's cry and was startled. Before he could turn around, he missed a step and fell down from the several meters high wall of the city lord mansion. Grandfather! Seeing this scene, Luo Qingtong flung her sleeve and hurriedly rushed over to catch Luo Leoi. This prevented him from falling flat on his face. Cough, cough, cough. Qingtong, you're back. Luo Leoi stood at the corner of the wall, his eyes darting left and right, unspeakably guilty. That's right. If I didn't come back, where were you going? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and asked him. She had already taken off the Rakshasa ghost mask on her face, and her long hair was also let down. She casually tied it into a bun on the side, looking playful and cute. In just a moment, Luo Qingtong changed from an androgynous, devilishly charming and peerless youth to an enchanting and beautiful young lady. She held her Rakshasa ghost mask, crossed her arms, and stood there looking at her grandfather with a pair of slanted eyebrows. Just now on the stage, she received a transmission from the Blackfield main city lord mansion, saying that Luo Leoi seemed to want to secretly leave the city lord mansion, so she hurriedly rushed back. No. No. Luo Leoi's gaze darted even more. I just want to. Yes, go out for a walk. I just want to go out for a walk. He slapped his thigh and said confidently. Grandpa just wants to go out for a walk. It's so boring. Do you have to make such a big fuss? You almost scared me to death. Is that so? Luo Qingtong looked at him with a smile that was not a smile. Climb the wall and go out for a walk. You even brought a package with you. As she spoke, she fixed her gaze on the bag that Old Master Luo was carrying. Old Master Luo's face twitched as he looked at the evidence of him running away from home. Yes, I am leaving. Seeing that he couldn't hide it any longer, Grandfather Luo gritted his teeth and squatted on the ground. Qingtong, don't bother about Grandfather. This matter, you can't do anything about it. Old Master Luo's voice was muffled. Thinking of the news he had just heard about the Empress Dowager's groom selection in the city lord's mansion, his heart felt stifled. He knew that Luo Qingtong brought him to the Blackfield main city to help him. But he was no longer young, and he didn't have the strength. How could he match her? Even if Luo Qingtong could ask the Blackfield's power to help him, Grandfather Luo's heart wouldn't be able to get over his own hurdle. Not to mention, in short, don't bother about Grandfather. Qin Tong, you've been running around too much for grandfather's matters. You've even delayed the matters at the holy court of the Empire of Qin. Go back quickly. Grandfather is fine. I'll go out for a walk. Don't think about your grandmother's matters, so there should be no problem. Grandfather Luo's expression was desolate. He really didn't want to implicate his granddaughter and make her busy for him. Chapter 730. Okay. Seeing him like this, Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and agreed immediately. She took her Rakshasa mask, turned around and said, "Hey, I've already gotten the complete pill formula and medicinal ingredients for the pill you took before. I wanted to restore Grandpa's youth. And I've also thought of a way to increase your strength. I guarantee that you'll be able to amaze the world. But since you're not willing, then forget it. Grandpa, you can go." She patted her butt and prepared to leave. However, after taking 2 steps, Grandpa Luo jumped to his feet and pulled him back. "Qing Tong. Are you telling the truth?" Master Luo looked at Luo Qingtong excitedly. "You're really." He stuttered for a long time. "Really?" Luo Qingtong looked at him and nodded, her eyes full of smiles. "Grandpa, I've already found the missing ingredient. I'll be able to refine the pill for you soon. Then you'll be able to regain your youth. As for your strength, I have a way to increase it so that you'll be able to use the power of the sage state." Luo Qingtong looked at old Master Luo's shocked face with his mouth agape. She smiled and asked, "Grandpa, are you still going to give up?" "Give up my ass." Master Luo was about to be stunned by his precious granddaughter's words. She could restore his youth and let him use the power of the sage state. Oh my God! If it wasn't for his precious granddaughter who always kept her word, Master Luo wouldn't have believed it. But since it was his granddaughter who said it, Master Luo slapped his thigh. Go. Let's go back. Qin Tong, how much time do you need to refine the pill? And what about increasing my strength? How do you do it? Can I make it in time for your grandmother's Empress Dowager's groom selection? He dragged Luo Qingtong back to the city lord's manor, his heart filled with indescribable excitement. He could become younger, and he could possess strength. Yan Shi, wait for me to marry you. I'll do everything I can to stand by your side. I'll make it in time. Grandpa, you should rest well and conserve your energy. Luo Qingtong looked at old Master Luo's excited face and smiled. Then, she said, when I help you increase your strength, the effect will be the best. All right. Luo Qingtong's words were more effective than anything else to Grandfather Luo. Hearing this, he immediately went back to his room. He swore that if his granddaughter didn't call him, he wouldn't come out and jump around. After sending old Master Luo away, Luo Qingtong's eyes turned cold and the smile on her face faded. What's going on? She looked to the side and asked, did something happen to Empress Dowager Yan Shi of Great Chu? Otherwise, his grandfather would not have been so disheartened and wanted to sneak away. Sir, there's news from the Great Yong Sacred Dynasty. After hearing that Empress Dowager Yan Shi of Great Chu is looking for a husband, the 7th Prince of Great Yong has publicly expressed his love for her and is willing to give up all the honor and power in the Great Yong Sacred Dynasty to go to the Great Chu Sacred Dynasty to ask for Empress Dowager Yan Shi's hand in marriage. At the place where Luo Qingtong was looking at, a figure of a strong man from the Black region appeared. Grandpa must have heard this news, so he left. Great Yong Sacred Dynasty. Chapter 731. Her index finger tapped on the Rakshasa ghost mask in her hand. This was interesting. She had just found out that Princess Feng, one of the Great Yong dynasty, was the one who had plotted against the original owner of this body. Now, the seventh prince of the Great Yong dynasty was coming to steal her grandmother. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. Give me the information on the seventh prince of the Great Yong dynasty. Also, see who else accompanied him to the Great Chu sacred dynasty. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She wanted to see if Princess Feng Yuan of the Great Yong dynasty would come or not. If she came, she wanted to meet the first princess of the Great Yong dynasty, the first genius. Yes. Hearing this, the expert of the Black Field disappeared in front of Luo Qingtong. At the same time, Feng Yuan returned to the residence in the city where she had been hiding. Looking at the white robe and mask she had taken off, she could no longer hold back the violent anger in her heart. With a bang, she raised her hand and swept the pile of things, including everything on her table, to the ground. Crackle. There was a crisp sound of shattering. The group of maidservants and guards who followed Feng Yuan did not even dare to make a sound. They all lay motionless on the ground, waiting for Feng Yuan's anger to pass. Rumble. Feng Yuan raised her hand and directly flipped the square table in front of her to the ground. The table fiercely smashed into a maidservant who was kneeling on the ground. The latter let out a muffled groan, forcibly withstanding the violent force, not daring to cry out in pain even a little bit. Feng Yuan's eyes were red. Standing in the midst of the mess, she looked like an evil spirit who had crawled out of hell. She panted, thinking of the humiliation she had suffered in the main city of the Black Field today. She clenched her fists so tightly that she almost broke her finger bones. At this moment, she seemed to feel something and raised her hand to let everyone in the room leave. Master. After everyone left, Feng Yuan respectfully bowed his head and called out. A wisp of green smoke suddenly appeared in front of her. That wisp of green smoke suddenly transformed into a faintly discernible human silhouette in midair. Yes. The green smoke replied in a low voice, then said, Where's my square immortal cauldron? Take it out, Master has found a way to open the first layer. Perhaps it will allow you to break through the limits of an alchemist earlier and become an alchemist. Before he could finish, Feng Yuan's expression suddenly changed. Square immortal cauldron. Master, I. Feng Yuan clenched his teeth, unable to speak. His heart was filled with extreme regret. If she had known that her master had a way to open the four-sided immortal furnace and help her become an alchemist, she definitely wouldn't have used the four-sided immortal furnace as a stake. But now, the square immortal cauldron had fallen into the hands of the evil doctor, Ghost Eye. Feng Yuan's fingernails dug deep into his flesh when he thought about how he had not only lost a person but also a treasure. What's wrong with you? Where's the four-sided immortal furnace? The wisp of green smoke also felt that something was wrong with her mood. Immediately, the smoke rolled and shouted sternly. Before Feng Yuan could finish speaking, the wisp of smoke had already searched her entire body, but it did not find any trace of the four-sided immortal furnace. Then, the smoke transformed into a large palm and slapped her hard, causing her to fall to the ground. Bastard! Chapter 732. Do you know what kind of treasure that square immortal furnace is? When I gave it to you, I told you to take good care of it and not make any mistakes. The treasure within that square immortal furnace is extremely precious. I went through innumerable hardships to obtain it, and my soul almost scattered. Otherwise, how could I have fallen to such a low-level continent? How could you lose it? You deserve to die. As that wisp of blue smoke spoke, it instantly slapped towards her. That aura was wild and furious, not holding back at all. If Feng Yuan were to be struck by this slap, even if she didn't die she would be severely wounded. It could be seen just how furious the other party was. Master! Seeing this slap, Feng Yuan's heart chilled. She quickly shouted out, I didn't lose that square immortal furnace. It was stolen by someone else. She clenched her teeth, twisting the truth and saying, "The other party is an alchemist in the black field that no one dares to approach. I am not her match." She saw the square immortal furnace and forcefully stole it away. "Master, give me some time. I will definitely take that square immortal furnace back." As Feng Wuan spoke to her, she fiercely clenched her teeth. Losing to Luo Qingtong this time was the greatest shame of her life. Not only had she been humiliated and crushed in front of everyone, but she had also lost her treasure. She thought about how she had always wanted to break through to become an alchemist, but the square immortal furnace could actually help her become one. She felt a burst of regret in her heart. Black field, alchemist. Hearing Feng Wuan's words, that wisp of blue smoke instantly stopped. She's actually someone from the black field. As that wisp of blue smoke spoke of the black field, there was a deep dread in her voice. Feng Wuan lowered her head, her eyes dark and gloomy. Just like this wisp of blue smoke disdained everything in the true Spill continent. However, towards the black field, dark supremacy, she was extremely afraid of the black field. With such fear, how could Feng Wuan not have suspicions? The strength of Ming Zun in the black field was definitely beyond her imagination. That was why Feng Wuan was so obsessed with Yi Qianxian. Otherwise, with her arrogance, why would she be so persistent with a man who spoke so bluntly to her and didn't even want to meet her? Yes. Master, the other party is highly valued by the Black Field's underworld supremacy. He has a revered status in the Black Field. I was truly powerless and was unable to protect the square immortal cauldron. Please forgive me, Master. Humph. Since he's from the Black Field, then forget it. The wisp of green smoke snorted coldly when he heard this. Then, he said, "Fortunately, the things inside the divine cauldron are not things that ordinary people can obtain. Even if they fall into the other party's hands, it won't be a big deal. But you still have to get that divine cauldron back as soon as possible. Don't disappoint me again." "Yes. Master, please rest assured." Feng Wuan lowered his eyes and said. Seeing the wisp of green smoke disappear in front of him, Feng Wuan slowly stood up with his hand on his chest. He raised his hand to wipe off the bloodstains on the side of his lips. His eyes were filled with a sinister light. Evil Dr. Gui Tong. How long until 7th Imperial Uncle and the others arrive? She transmitted her voice to the person outside the door. The 7th Imperial Uncle and the others have already traveled day and night. They should arrive at the Great Chu's sacred capital within 3 to 5 days. The guard outside the door said respectfully. Very good. Let them move faster. She must have the Great Chu's sacred dynasty in her hands. When the two dynasties merged, she would have the opportunity and bargaining chips to settle the score with evil Dr. Gui Tong. Evil Dr. Gui Tong, don't think that just because you have the Black Field's underworld supremacy protecting you, I can't do anything to you. That square immortal cauldron, I must get it back. The things you took from me and the humiliation you gave me, I will definitely return them all. Chapter 733. While Feng Wuan was inwardly cursing in his heart, Luo Qingtong had already brought Little Pig to the depths of the mountains outside the Black Field main city. This place should be about done. Luo Qingtong looked around. She had come out to concoct pills. According to the records she had read before, this youthful rejuvenation pill was already considered an immortal pill. Luo Qingtong didn't know what grade of pill it was in this strange world. Thinking of the tribulation lightning she had attracted when she first started concocting pills, Luo Qingtong felt that it was necessary for her to find a secluded place to concoct pills. As for the Black Field main city's City Lord Mansion, although it was safe, it was too big of a target. Moreover, people die for wealth, and birds die for food. Although the Black Field's deterrence was great, it couldn't withstand the temptation of greed. If someone really wanted to take the risk, the Blackfield main city lord mansion wouldn't be safe. After all, who knew how many hidden experts there were in the Blackfield main city? Luo Qingtong had found the heavenly watered jade heart lotus for her grandfather, so she naturally wouldn't allow any mistakes to occur during this concoction. Therefore, after some consideration, she came to the mountain range outside the Blackfield main city. The mountains here were stacked on top of each other. Luo Qingtong's eyes flickered with blood-red light. Soon, she found a suitable place for concocting pills. Luo Qingtong set up a formation in the surroundings. Then, she raised her hand and took out the square immortal cauldron. Whoosh! The square immortal cauldron shrank in Luo Qingtong's palm. It was only the size of a palm. However, when it was placed on the ground, it instantly grew with the wind. With a whoosh, it became dozens of meters tall. The ancient and boundless aura around it spread out in all directions as it grew. What's the origin of this immortal cauldron? Luo Qingtong looked at Little Pig and asked. This fellow had been asking her to take down the divine cauldron ever since the cauldron appeared. He seemed to be very familiar with it. You don't know this, but legend has it that this divine cauldron is a treasure left behind by a divine king. The treasure left behind by that divine king is inside, Little Pig said mysteriously. And that's not the most important thing. Most importantly, it was said that this treasure contained clues related to the God King's inheritance and treasure trove. But after so many years, no one has found it. So you know how precious this divine cauldron is. That heavenly doctor definitely doesn't know how precious this divine cauldron is. Otherwise, she definitely wouldn't compare this divine cauldron with you. Little Pig chuckled mischievously as he spoke. Everyone has gone crazy searching for this thing outside. I never thought that it would appear in the true Spill continent. You're lucky to have met someone who doesn't know what's good for you. If that heavenly doctor knew that this divine cauldron was such a treasure, yet she gave it to you herself, I wonder how much blood she would vomit. Who told her to be so arrogant? Now she was a fool, wasn't she? Little Pig was amused as he thought about this. He had been angry at that heavenly doctor's provocation. But now, he wished that there would be more fools like her. Who would complain about having too many treasures? Divine King's treasure. Luo Qingtong looked at the square immortal cauldron, her eyes flashing. Her eyes instantly turned as red as blood. Eye technique activated. In this blood red, Luo Qingtong saw that there were 3 layers underneath the square immortal cauldron. Chapter 734. However, those things and the interlayers were filled with a dense energy. Luo Qingtong couldn't see it clearly at all. She had only activated her eye technique for a while before she felt a piercing pain in her head. The light in her eyes dimmed in an instant. There are indeed things inside, but I'm not strong enough to take them out for the time being. Let's wait until later. Luo Qingtong said as she deactivated her eye technique. After a while, her eyes returned to normal. We're not in a hurry anyway. The divine cauldron is already in our hands. When your strength increases in the future, we can take those things out. Little Pig said, even if we take them out now, you might not be able to use them. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes slightly. Let's refine pills first. As she spoke, she raised her hand and set up one array formation after another around her. Following her movements, one array formation after another took shape. First layer array, second layer array, third layer array. Sixth layer array. Luo Qingtong set up the strongest array she could and let Little Pig stand guard at the side. Then, she began to refine pills. With this square immortal cauldron, Luo Qingtong no longer had to worry about the cauldron exploding. She only had to pay attention to the changes in the medicinal power. Because she only had one stalk of heavenly water jade heart lotus, Luo Qingtong was very careful when refining pills. Swoosh! She activated the eye technique in her eyes and stared at the huge cauldron at all times. Following the changes in the medicinal power of each ball, her hands' movements constantly changed. Stalk after stalk of medicinal herbs were purified into medicinal liquid by her and thrown into the square immortal cauldron to undergo a second fusion. Streams of rich heaven and earth energy were absorbed into the square immortal cauldron. As the time for Luo Qingtong's elixir refinement progressed, dark clouds started to gather in the sky. Those dark clouds shrouded the valley she was in layer by layer. The dark clouds pressed down on the city, threatening to destroy it. A storm was coming. As for the other places, it was cloudless. What's going on? Near the mountain range, many people looked at this scene in amazement. At this moment, on a mountainside not far from the canyon where Luo Qingtong was refining pills, a handsome youth bathed in blood suddenly emerged from behind a huge rock. The man's face was gorgeous, and he had both the feminine charm of a woman and the masculine aura of a man. He had a pair of sword-like eyebrows that were slanted upwards. They were obviously extremely robust, but the corners of his eyes were filled with a beautiful color. There was a mole under the corner of her eye, which made her even more charming. What's that? His blood-stained fingers were propped up on the boulder. His aura fluctuated between strong and weak. His breathing was sometimes heavy and sometimes weak. Anyone could see that he was already an arrow at the end of its flight. The birth of a treasure. Or something else. Looking at the scene of the black clouds pressing down on the city, the light in Yu Sihuang's eyes kept changing. In the next second, he suddenly gritted his teeth and rushed toward the area covered by the black clouds. No matter what it was very likely to be his only chance of survival in his current situation. Rumble. As Luo Qingtong continued to add medicinal power into the cauldron, the heaven and earth energy contained in the square immortal cauldron was already extremely large. As for the black clouds in the sky, they were hanging lower and lower. Chapter 735. Holy *T. Where did this woman find this pill recipe? This tribulation cloud is so scary. Little Pig stared dumbfoundedly at the incomparably thick black clouds in the sky that were about to press down on their heads. Even when Luo Qingtong refined the Spirit Awakening pill for the first time, such a terrifying tribulation cloud didn't appear. At that time, the tribulation cloud only appeared after her pill had taken shape. Now, the pill hadn't even taken shape, but it was already gathering. He didn't know if that woman would be able to withstand it. However, with the life and death yin-yang sword, she should be fine, right? It's best if she's fine. Little Pig hadn't recovered his strength from the last time he revealed himself. If something happened to Luo Qingtong now, it would be troublesome. If he forced himself to reveal himself, he might suck her dry and severely damage her foundation. While Little Pig was thinking, Luo Qingtong raised her hand and threw the last drop of heavenly jade heart lotus medicinal liquid into the cauldron. Because she didn't need to worry about the cauldron exploding, Luo Qingtong refined all the medicinal ingredients she used this time. This way, a successful pill would have a higher retention rate of medicinal efficacy and better effects. Luo Qingtong naturally used all her strength to refine the pill for Luo Qingtong's grandfather. Swoosh! She threw the last drop of medicinal liquid in her hand forward. With a boom, the entire square immortal cauldron trembled slightly. In the next second, a five-colored aura suddenly spread out from the cauldron. Then, more and more five-colored aura suddenly rushed out and condensed above the cauldron. At the same time, the heaven and earth energy in the cauldron suddenly contracted. Under the effect of some mysterious heaven and earth law, it changed the medicinal properties of the balls of medicinal efficacy and fused them together to form an even more powerful medicinal effect. Immortal Qi. Oh my God! Little Pig was completely dumbfounded as he looked at the five-colored light above the cauldron. He knew Luo Qingtong's pill was definitely not ordinary. But immortal qi, it was too terrifying. This woman really didn't play her cards according to the rules. Who could refine an immortal pill at her level? Even if she was using a divine cauldron, it would be the same. At most, it would have a higher retention rate, a stronger effect, and a higher success rate. But this immortal pill, the fusion of medicinal properties, was extremely complex and terrifying. How did Luo Qingtong do it? Little Pig had always thought that as Luo Qingtong's cultivation increased, her frightening ability would weaken. She wouldn't be able to scare him so much that his little heart would beat wildly again. But looking at it now, it was nothing. This woman was always so perverted and terrifying. Fortunately, her strength was still weak. Otherwise, wouldn't she be swept away in minutes? It had never seen such a perverted and terrifying woman. His talent was as if he was born for cultivation. Luo Qingtong had no time to pay attention to Little Pig. The amount of heaven and earth energy gathered in the four-sided immortal cauldron had reached a terrifying level. If this was not a four-sided immortal cauldron, it would have exploded again. Luo Qingtong focused all her attention on the four-sided immortal cauldron. She paid close attention to the fusion of medicinal efficacy and the situation of the heaven and earth energy pouring into it. At this time, she couldn't afford to make any mistakes. Otherwise, this huge ball of medicinal efficacy would be wasted. Rumble. The clouds in the sky were getting lower and lower. The rumbling sound inside was getting louder and clearer. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.